Welcome to the All Access Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Joseph Bruen, here with New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, the Punisher, Don Vega. Richie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe, for having me. It's great to catch up, as always. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you here. This is going to be good. We go back quite a ways. When did you first start in ring? Was it 98?
In the Yankee Pro Wrestling 98, but I had done some stuff with NEWA. Mid 96, I started messing around with those guys, and then from there I went on to YPW.
Okay, so we started around the same time. I was a 98 guy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, got lots to talk about. So let's get into it. Going to the very beginning, growing up as a kid, when did you first discover pro wrestling? Who were some of your favorites? Obviously, your father was a fan. Let's talk about it.
So, like the usual guys, they started at a very early age, and I had moved to Puerto Rico. I was about 4 years old. My grandfather was like a diehard fan of pro wrestling. So, hanging out with my grandfather, that's when I got introduced to pro wrestling, watching the old Capital Sports promotion, which is now WWC, the World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico. And back in those days, there was a mixture of, the who's from the territories that would go down to the territory in Puerto Rico. And I got to see a lot of those stars, like, some guys that people might not have heard of, like Killer Tim Brooks, Eric Embry, and others like Rick Martel, Barry Windham, Harley Race, Terry and Dory Funk. I mean, the list goes on and on. I just fell in love with the business itself,
Yep. And at what point did you decide, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot? This is something I'd like to do.
So, as a kid, I guess I had, I had big dreams. So the next thing that I fell in love before getting into wrestling, not to deviate the question, was boxing. So the only reason I got into boxing at the age of 10 and I started training, I asked my father, get me involved into amateur boxing, is because they had a ring, and that was the closest thing to wrestling. So at the age of 10, I started boxing. I boxed for about 4 years, and we moved to Rhode Island. And Rhode Island is, ironically enough, I used to train at this club, Cranston Boxing Club in Cranston, Rhode Island. And years later, I found out that Tommy D from Power League used to rent that place out and run shows in there, but I never knew. And I used to train there for boxing.
Oh, wow.
So before that, watching cable Axxess, in an afternoon, I discovered the NEWA, New England Wrestling Alliance. And I saw a guy by the name of Gorgeous Dino Giovanni, and he was a young kid, skinny, flamboyant, had the slacks with big lips in the back and stuff. And I started watching it, and I'm like, if this kid could do it, with the right training, I could do it too. I'd probably kick his ass. So I fell into the NEWA, and I started looking into what was independent wrestling at the time. I started discovering more and more different places then.
So you get into that NEWA, the New England Wrestling Alliance. Aside from Power League, NEWA is really the only show in town as far as Rhode Island goes at that time. As far as prominent or well-known organizations, they had obviously the TV, so you'd always see whatever their shows were. They had a few different ones, but it was kind of a regular thing here in Rhode Island. So that's what I grew up with as a fan as well. Who kind of took you under their wing? Who were some of the first to just give you a lending hand when it came to NEWA specifically?
So when I finally got into NEWA, because like I said before that, I didn't know much about how to get into wrestling. And that opened up the gates of, my father knew some people. He found out about Johnny Rods over in New York City. But, you had to be 18 to go there. Same thing with Walter Kowalski. You had to be 18 to go to his school at the time. Then I pursued NEWA, and I used to stop by the office. The place would be closed. Eventually, one afternoon, I found the place open. I walked in. I saw Rocco, of course, D'Alessandro, Anthony Rufo, our good friend, rest his soul, and the midgets, Dougie and Jason, Tiny the Turbo and Half Nelson. And I got kind of like the same answer. I don't know if I want to, do that because you're too young. Maybe come back when you're like 17 and all that. But he hit it off with my father. My father used to buy and sell used cars. Ended up selling Rocco a car. They hit it off. And eventually, after weeks and, probably a month and a half of calling him every day, he said, all right, kid, come down. We got a spot. Come down and train. And at the time, they were in the transition of moving, and I think Rocco had a ring at the Elmwood Community Center in Providence, and that was my first time going there. Again, I saw Anthony Rufo and Jose Perez. Those were the first two guys that I saw my first day and instructed me on how to take my first bumps.
Anthony Rufo, for the fans that don't know, he started with the NEWA as Dan Bula, kind of a spin-off on the Papa Shango gimmick. From there, he would go on to become Marvin the Maniac, of course, in the NEWA. And he was a prominent part of NEWA, becoming the champion. Whenever they bring the stars in, he would wrestle Jim Neidhart or Bam Bam Bigelow or whoever it may be coming in. So Anthony was definitely a pivotal part of Rhode Island wrestling and of NEWA specifically. What are your memories of Anthony Rufo, getting to work with him over the years and become friends with him, working for him as a promoter and even working with him in the ring?
I mean, Anthony was one of the nicest guys. It's a off balance of the character that you see, because Anthony was a guy that liked to lay his stuff in. He was aggressive, and outside the ring, he was a complete opposite. He'll do anything for you. He was there for you. If he liked you, you had everything with Anthony. And from the beginning, I mean, when I walked that day into the office, he said, I'll work with the kid. I don't know if he saw something in me. I don't know if he liked my father or he liked, the way that I approach. But he offered. He was the first guy to offer. And then moving down the line as I learn and progress, obviously he liked my style. My style's always been like hard-hitting, aggressive, kind of like him. And we just hit it off, man. I had some of the funnest times working for Anthony. I always had a home anywhere that he was as far as promoting. He always booked me on his card in a good spot. And, he was just one of my guys. Everybody's got their guys. Anthony was one of my guys. I miss him dearly. Great guy.
Anthony was a great guy, and he gave me my first opportunity as far as ring announcing goes and UCW, and just kind of fell into my lap. The ring announcer didn't show up, so he gave me that opportunity. And from that moment forward, he liked how I did, and he kept me as a ring announcer, and it was great to work with him. And I'd go on to work with him for years, on and off, even when he had the second installment of UCW Ultimate Championship Wrestling.
Yes.
I would still do the announcing for him. And we kind of go way back because as a fan of wrestling, I was there in the crowd as a kid for NEWA, and 1993 was my first show.
Wow.
And, Anthony Rufo was there as Dan Bula. So he was one of the first independent wrestlers I had ever seen. So it was kind of neat. And I got his autograph that day, and I was just, fast forward and to become friends with him. And, just so funny how life, kind of unfolds. And he also went to school with my brother Tony, my older brother.
Wow.
So they already knew each other beforehand, so it was kind of a full circle thing with Anthony Rufo.
Yeah, it's funny how life works, man.
Yeah, let's talk about your father, your late father Julio. Huge part of the wrestling scene here in New England. I mean, he never missed a show to support you. He was always there. He was filming all of your matches, no matter what organization, no matter how far the show, he was there. And he was a big part and became close with a lot of the wrestlers in the New England scene. And why don't you tell us all about your dad, what he was like, behind the scenes for people that don't know him, and in your words, what would you say is your dad's legacy?
Well, first and foremost, for me, and not just because he's my father, he was a great human being, stern guy. If he told you something was gonna be a certain way, you could take that to the bank. That's the way that it was gonna be. Humble guy, always taught me right from wrong, and he always taught me to believe in myself. He was very supportive with my dream. Usually, you got people that'll tell you, "Oh no, try something else." My father, right from the go, he's like, "If that's what you're gonna want to do, just put your effort and do it." And he was my best friend, man. More than a father, he was a mentor. He was my rock, best friend, and he always supported me in anything that I set goals on. And you know, unfortunately, that's missing a lot in the youth. For a lot of people, and our youth needs more support from family members, especially fathers. And I was blessed to have that. I miss him every day. Uh, like you said, he became a good part of the wrestling community. People loved him. I mean, he had that way that he smiled. He was open to people. In a lot of cases, my father was more liked than I was. So you mentioned me right away. The conversation goes over to dad, which I'm very proud of that legacy. Being somebody that people remember to be kind of like uplifting person, and I'm proud of that. And like I said, man, I miss him every time I go out there. I look around. I miss seeing my father there with the camera, like you said. It was tough, man. In the beginning, going out there and not seeing my dad, it was very tough.
And recording those matches, how did that start? Was it his idea to start recording your matches, or were you like, "Hey, Dad, why don't you record?" Or
No, it was his idea, man. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna start wrestling? I'll record the whole show, and then that way you can see it." And an integral part of me learning this business, as you know, you have to be a student of the game and watch yourself and see the mistakes and see other people and the way they do things. And if it wasn't for my father having all that footage, I wouldn't be where I'm at and achieve the things that I have achieved along the way. It definitely helped me get better having all that footage. And I mean, those are memories that every time I look around, I see those tubs, and then I see how I'm getting old too, because I see the VHS tapes to the 8mm tapes to the mini tapes. I mean, it goes by the era, I guess. And my father was there for all those.
so are you ever thinking of getting that to YouTube or getting those matches out there for people to see?
Yeah, man. I think I'm just, once I get into it, sometimes I pull like bins out. I got these bins of VHS tapes. And once I get into it, I start watching stuff that I don't even remember, and I get lost in it. And I'm like, this will take a lot of time and a lot of work. But there is some footage that my dad used to record when a lot of people didn't, and there's footage there that those guys probably never seen. So I like to get that out there at some point and
Hmm.
share with the audience and with the fans.
So 1998 comes around, Yankee Pro Wrestling. How did you get your foot in the door there? And what was it like working for Joe Eugenio and Silvana Souza?
So, NEWA, like I said, it was kind of like Anthony and Jose, and then they closed down the school, and I was learning as we went along. Before shows, I would get in the ring and train with different guys like Ray Roy and different of the guys. And I knew I had to get out of there and get proper training, because all I was doing at that time, another guy that I'm thankful for is Dave Jackson, Reverend Shane Link. He saw me hanging around as a kid, and he's like, "Hey, kid, next show, get yourself a black jacket and some shades, and you're gonna be my bodyguard." And that's how I became the Punisher. I was a bodyguard of Shane Link. So in that stable that Shane had, it was Jose Perez, Anthony Rufo, I think Draven, and Pretty Boy Hernandez. Me and Pretty Boy kind of hit it off the same way that Anthony did. And I heard the gossip, we got the show in Massachusetts, PAL, this and that, and I've been hearing about it from that little group of guys. And I told John one day, John Katie, Pretty Boy Hernandez, will you mind if I ride up to a show? I really want to get trained and I want to do this for real. He was like, sure, come up with me the next show. So I went down there. So, it was day and night. A lot of those guys, a lot different than NEWA. There was some guys there that were good. I was intimidated. Show was done. I met John in the back parking lot of the PAL. He's like, "Oh, you talked to Joe Eugenio?" I was like, "No, man. I don't know. I don't know if I could do this." He's like, "Get your ass back inside and go talk to the guy. That's what you came here for." And I did. I did. I talked to Joe, and he told me he had.
Looks like I lost your.
I started going up to New Bedford. Are we here? We're good.
Yeah, I lost your volume there for a minute.
Okay. So yeah, John, inspired me to go talk to Eugenio. I did. He agreed to invite me over to the school. I started training over there. The first gentlemen that I saw when I went down to Yankee Pro Wrestling School was Brickhouse Baker and Tex McCoy. They were both working out in the ring. And for a few months, the guy that was helping me out when I first got to Yankee Pro was Tex McCoy. He helped me out with cleaning my bumps, tie-ups, all the basics. Then again, the story repeated itself. Mike Baker took a liking to me, and he kind of took me under his wing, and the rest is history. I started training consistently with Mike, and in about 8 months of constant training, I got to do a running. I got to do a running in a match with Big Daddy Kahuna and Reverend Redemption, and I was a fortunate one to get splashed by Kahuna, and this was back when he was like 4 and change. So, you have to earn your stripes. It's not like now they just throw kids into shows, and then the next day they're the champions.
Right.
We had to take our steps. Runnings, battle royals, whatever was available for you to get your feet wet and eventually get a match. That's what it was.
The slow build.
Yes.
So when it comes to NEWA, just going back a little bit, what type of actual training did you get there while you were there?
So with NEWA was like the basic bumps, basic lockup and stuff like that, rolls, but nothing to the extent that I needed to learn. It was kind of like throwing into the wolves and learning as you go type thing. I went on to be the bodyguard of a chain link. Then I ended up doing some battle royals, and eventually I had my match against the midgets, Tiny the Turbo and Half Nelson. And it was kind of in that time that another individual that used to work for NEWA, he was very young as I was, Eric Kulas. He had an accident in wrestling. Everybody knows the ECW incident and stuff like that. It was after that, so I kind of took his spot because he always used to wrestle the midgets. So they threw me in that spot to wrestle the midgets in Fox Point, Rhode Island. And that was my first match there. So I knew I had to get proper training. A lot of the guys in the NEWA were self-taught guys, other than Anthony that was, going to Kowalski's, and Jose was getting training with Sabana Sousa. So
what was it like working for Rocco?
Working for Rocco was fun, man. And even coming back, because after I got trained, I came back to NEWA, and that's when I really got to work matches there and do some decent work there. Rocco was always good to me. He was good to all the boys. I mean, I remember going to Rocco's house and having his wife cook us pasta, and we would watch tapes. There was a point in time that we were taping Off the Ropes at his house, which was an interview talk show. He would do interviews for the future shows and stuff like that.
Yep.
Before that, he used to have them at his office. They had like the staging set up to tape the segments. But then fast forward a few years, he was doing that at his house. So it was fun times, man. Rocco, like I said, he took a liking to me after that, and he was friends with my dad. He was a guy that it was like going to your friend's house and hanging out. You could go and hang out there. And, I remember I used to borrow tapes from Rocco. Like I wanted to see the shows before my time, and he would lend me VHS tapes so I could go watch the shows and all that, good times.
Any memories of Bob the Padre Cleese, the ring announcer?
Yes, Bob was a excellent dude. Uh, till this day, probably a few years now, we still used to say hi on Facebook and all that stuff. I like Padre. He was always, to me, he had a unique voice.
Yeah.
I like Padre as an announcer, and he was a great dude, great
How about
guy.
Rocco's son, Rock Joseph?
Rock Joseph was the same thing. He was good dude. I would love to see him and Rocco get at it because it reminded me of me and my dad, but they would argue to the death, especially the day of the show if something went wrong or a board wasn't going in properly, or you have Rocco with a hammer, Rock Joe throwing stuff around. It was great, man. It was a brotherhood kind of.
Yeah. And when you returned to the NEWA, is that when George Carroll had the book? He was doing the booking?
No, I returned to NEWA when Rocco started running the Barton Street Community Center. And that Barton Street Community Center used to have this pipe run down the middle of the building there. And Rocco had the dog ring, the red dog ring. So when we started running shows in there with NEWA, this is before UCW started going in there. Rocco was the first one to run in there. We had to duck. The pipe would be right in the middle of the ring, and if you were hitting the ropes, you have to take that duck like if you were taking like a leapfrog and go underneath it to not hit your head. So that was my return there. He had some shows here and there at some schools. I think East Greenwich High School, and then he did something with Alfredo where they had the Rhode Island Wrestling Alliance and a mix of that, which Rocco was involved behind the scenes. And we went back and did some shows like Franklin High School and Common Tree Middle School and places like that, which is ironic. That's when I got to work in front of Scott Dickinson. And I worked Ray Roy as the Mountie. Scott was the referee, and that's how I got seen and invited to NWA New England with Rumble. So yeah, going back there, I did that, and then eventually, I think Rocco has something to do with behind the scenes with Primal Conflict as well, because it was his ring, and he was kind of like the silent partner, to Donnie and stuff like that. So I did those shows in the beginning. So yeah, that was my run there coming back.
I made my ring announcing debut at the Barton Street Community Center in 1998, and I didn't realize that anybody ran there before UCW.
Yes, I got those tapes, man. We ran there several times, and like I said, that high ring, you had to, kind of do the loop duck to be able to work in there. Yeah, it was quite the experience.
How about memories of Kevin Charisma? Of course, he wrestled as AA Antonio Adams for the NEWA, would go on to become Altitude, and then, of course, Kevin Charisma.
Man, what can I say? It's like those guys, like, at that time, those guys were my brothers. You know what I mean? Like talk about Hugo, another guy that's one of the nicest guys you can meet. Another guy that's just humble and great to be around, always a good attitude. Always encouraging to like the newer guys that were around him and giving. He would want to help those guys. He was always a guy that was giving and helpful to younger people. So, Hugo, great dude. I mean, we got stories. I remember, and he'll pop for this if he ever watches this. A story of us going down to the Cape in the middle of a snowstorm to go do a show for Yankee Pro. He used to have like a Toyota Corolla, like the box Toyota Corolla, the old school, 0.8. And on the way back, we hit a snowstorm and you couldn't see anything. He's just driving. We could barely see the road. We kept on going the twin bridges that they got over there in the Cape. And we see a sign that says Prob. So we figure that's the way to go to Providence. So we keep hitting that exit, going around in a loop. And come to find out, after we stopped at a police station, I go inside real quick. And, and we were actually in Providence town.
Okay.
So we got out of there pretty quickly and figured out, this is not the Providence we want to be going to. And that was a good one with Hugo. He'll appreciate that
Wow,
that story.
that's great.
Good guy.
Providence, Rhode Island is the home of a lot of independent wrestlers over the years. It's definitely an area where a lot of guys are from, Pawtucket, Providence, so centrally located for a lot of the guys. But Providence town, that's a little ways out there.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely beyond Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah. So the Puerto Rican franchise, you'd form the tag team with Bert Centeno eventually. Bert Centeno, obviously, lots of time in different countries, of course, with the World Wrestling Federation for many years. How did that relationship start, that tag team start?
Well, the start of Bert Centeno was through Mike Spotter, but I knew Bert even before just seeing him at shows. I seen him at shows. I introduced myself to him, and I used to see him on TV all the time. You turn on Wrestling Superstars or Wrestling Challenge, he was always on. You
Yeah.
know, it was like he was one of the guys. I mean, you turn those shows on, Bert was on every time. So, I wanted to get his advice, and he was like, nah, just stick with it, man. Reps, just keep your mouth shut, listen to the right people, and just keep working. And eventually, we caught up. I think he had some influence with Spotter with the booking at the time, and like I said, we have seen each other throughout, and he's seen me progress. And he was like, "Oh, bring the kid in. Give him a shot. I think he'll be really good." And you know how Mike was. Mike was a character of his own, and he didn't like Eugenio.
Hmm.
And I have seen and met Mike before, and he didn't really like me because I worked for Joe Eugenio. But eventually, he did gave me a chance when Bert put in the word for me. I actually came in and started working for Spotter with Jose Perez. We were
Okay.
under the hoods. We had the war going on with Iraq.
Was
And
that wreaking
Spot,
havoc?
no, this is before that. This is when we came in as the Desert Destroyers,
Ah,
because
yeah.
we had heat with Iraq where the war was going on, and a lot of conversations with my. It's funny because Jose came out of nowhere. Like, I was scheduled to start off solo, and for whatever reason, he said, "Oh, I've been talking to that Perez guy. I think I'm going to bring you both in together as a tag, but I need you to do for a while. I just need you to be this hood gimmick that I got, the Desert Destroyers." So I was like, "Oh, all right, you'll get to work with the names, and it'll be a good opportunity for you." I'm like, "All right, whatever you want." And we did that. We came in, we got to work with Sabu, Perry Saturn, Sergeant Slaughter. I mean, a bunch of people. And after that run was over, that's when I kind of went solo for a little while, and I reunited with Bert as the Puerto Rican franchise. He's like, now I'll get you with your buddy, with Bert. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So me and Bert started tagging.
So you and I worked together in UCW, of course. We worked together in a lot of promotions, but we worked together for Mike Spada, the
Yeah.
WWA, and I was the ring announcer there when you guys were the Puerto Rican franchise. So this was, I think I started in 2003.
Hmm.
My debut show was in Arlington, Vermont, and it was yourself as the Masked Punisher against Sabu.
Yes.
That was the main event, and Dr. Tom Pritchard was there as the talent scout.
Oh,
So he
man.
was there in the crowd, and that was my first experience. It was my debut. It was my first time there, and I got a random call from Mike Spada one day that he heard of me and he heard I do a good job, and I don't know who told him about me, but
Hmm.
I was happy about the opportunity, and WWA was great. It was probably my highlight, I would say. I really enjoyed working there. I was always paid well.
Hmm.
He was always super nice to me. And the roster was just, he had a deep roster. It kind of,
Yes.
yeah, he had his core guys, but you would always see this group of talent come in that you didn't really see in other areas.
Hmm.
And he would bring in those Canadian guys like Quinton Valentino and Nick Neighborhood and,
Yes.
some faces that you just don't see that often. Chi Cruz and Cabby and
Hmm.
Julio Nero. He had some great talent there. Obviously, Brody Lee.
Yes.
So it was great working there. I really enjoyed my time there. Of course, you had Kenny Dykstra and the Highlanders. before they would go on to greater success. And what are your any personal memories that you can share of Mike Spada? Maybe throw the voice in there a little bit.
Oh
People
man,
need
is
to know
this
the
is
voice.
this PG or because Mike? I mean, we try to keep it
True.
clean. But I mean, what a run with that guy, man. Talk about just sitting at home, just counting down the days when you knew you had a spotter booking because you knew it was gonna be some type of adventure. I mean, the dude, like you said, he had the who's around the time. But I'll share this story with my buddy Little Killer. Little Killer used to work for Mike, and he would work against Dan DeLucio, Short
Short
C.
sleeve.
Stanson. And we were in some place in Massachusetts. I believe it was Pepperell, Massachusetts we were on.
Pepperell. Okay.
And there was Al Snow, I remember, because he was laughing his ass off in the back door, and Beefcake were there. Before that night, we were in Quincy, I believe. And it was one of those deals that it was a double shot, Friday and Saturday. The day before on Friday night, Little Killer had just come back from one of the midget tours. And this, midget wrestling now is huge, but back then there was only limited amount of those companies, like one or two. Yeah. And they would do a more, adult-orientated show where you could cuss and all that stuff. So, Little Killer's been on the road for a couple months. He comes back, does spotter, gets on the top rope. This lady screaming at him, and he calls her the C word. He's like, "Oh, shut up, you fat C." I didn't know until later in the night when I get home. I got a bunch of messages on the answering service. I go play it. It's like, Richie, John Vega is Mike Spada. I'm like, yeah, I know who this is. That motherfucker, Little Killer. Guess what he did? Like, he called his fat effing C a fat C. I'm like, holy crap. So he's like, he's done. I'm going to shit him to the office. His career is over. I'm like, don't bring him tomorrow. Whatever, leaves a message. Like 2 minutes later, he calls. I pick up the phone call. I'm like, hey, Mike, I just got home. I heard your message. I'm not going to bring. Nope. Forget everything I said. That little motherfucker, just bring him. I'm like, okay, don't tell him nothing. So he hangs up the phone. Next day, we're driving. I bring Little Killer with me. We get to the building. I know it's going to be good. I kayfabed him. Didn't say anything. As soon as I start backing the car up, Mike comes out, and he's got his hands on his hip, and he means business. So now I tell Killer, hey, Killer, just pop the trunk so we could get our bags. As soon as Killer goes around the car, Mike gets in front of the car. He's like, you, come here, you little motherfucker. I'm like, oh, yes. So now he's yelling at Little Killer. Obviously, the boys are coming out. They're having a grand old fucking time laughing. Little Killer, for those that don't know, he always has this smirk when you tell him something, and that's just the way that he is. He'll laugh about it. He don't take it serious. So he did that with Mike when Mike was yelling at him, cussing at him. He's like, oh, you think this is funny? We'll see how funny it is when you don't fucking work tonight and don't get paid. Get your ass in the locker room. So, the joke on this is that I think Little Killer must have worked, no word of a lie, Joe, for 2 years without getting paid because of this incident, because he owed Mike $75 that he had to refund this lady for him calling her the C word. I'm like, how many shows are you going to work? And he keeps bringing this up. I'm like, unbelievable.
Wow.
Were you there for the Rikishi one?
No, but I saw the video. Obviously.
I was there for that, and I was the match that was on deck before that happened. With Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett and I were working that night, and it was one of those deals where at this point, Mike Bucci was the head of, talent, booking the indie guys and stuff like that. And he had a camp. So earlier in the day, we had like 30, almost 40 guys in this camp. he would set up certain matches and then a big rumble at the end so that everybody could work. Rikishi was supposed to be on this card. He had worked with us the night before, came in, did his deal in the corner, stink face, gave the kid the power driver, and that was the end of the match. 1, 2, 3. He had a bad ankle. He was selling that he had a bad ankle. So he disappeared. We did the camp the next day. Mike's calling him. He's nowhere to be found. We get to almost call time. Mike's like, I don't know, where is he? I can't find him. I'm like, all right, this is going to be good. So, show starts. I think the first match is going on when finally Rikishi calls Mike and he's like, hey, I'm down the road. I want my $2,000, but I'm not going to wrestle. I'm just going to sign. So he wanted an extra $2,000 just to sign.
Wow.
Mike's like, nope, not going to happen. You can sign all you want, but if you don't wrestle, I'm not paying you. So I guess Rikishi told him on the phone he was coming down there to kick his ass and shut the show down. And that's how this whole scenario happened. Of course, if you've seen the footage, I mean, here I am, by the curtain watching the match. And I think there was this guy, he used to do like a Colonel gimmick wrestling Samson, if I'm not mistaken. And all of a sudden, crowd pops. Here comes Rikishi. They're thinking this is part of the show. As Rikishi walks into the building, I see Mike bolt out the curtain. Fast as I've ever seen him run. And he had this big-ass wrench that I don't know if he placed it there because he knew something was going to go down. He ran there, grabbed the wrench. He's like, come on, motherfucker, I'm not scared of you. So now we got commotion. Boys are going out there. They drag Mike back. I think Mike cut a promo before that saying how he drew everybody to this building and how he's the promoter and Rikishi was going to stiff everybody. He wasn't going to work, blah, blah, blah. They drag Mike to the back. I'm standing right there next to him. In the mix of all this, there's this kid. He used to do a ninja gimmick. And he had a sword. He had like a katana, a real one. Mike's looking around. He sees that. Is that a sword? I'm like, oh, no, this is not going to be good. Grabs the deal, bolts through the curtain, pops the thing out. They're screaming, yelling. People are open like the seat, like the Red Sea. And, we saw the yelling and screaming. They got Rikishi out of there, took the sword away from Mike and brought him to the back. But that was amazing. Bucci's in the back making phone calls. I was never here, guys. it was unbelievable, man. That was Mike.
And I had a similar interesting story there with I forgot what show it was for WWA, but Rikishi was advertised, and all of a sudden he didn't show up. He wasn't on the show. I don't know if it was around that same time period because I didn't do the other show.
I think it was before that. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, and it was Tonga Kid who was also advertised on the show. He was on the show too.
Yeah.
And Tonga Kid, Mike Spada wanted me to announce Tonga Kid as Rikishi.
As Rikishi, yeah.
He said, Rikishi's not here, so you're going to announce Tonga Kid as Rikishi. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't really feel comfortable doing that, As the ring announcer, I just thought that was a little odd. And some of the boys were talking to him, trying to talk him out of it. And his compromise basically was that I call him Kishi instead of Rikishi.
Oh, man. And they were wearing similar gear, too.
Yeah, so I still felt uncomfortable, but I was like, okay. So I introduced him as Kishi, and he came out to Rikishi's music, and the crowd was like confused and wondering what was going on, and it's a bad scenario. But it's funny looking back at it. But I was mortified in the ring at that time.
That's Mike. And I think, speaking of Tonga Kid, and one of those, because he came, I believe he did 2 shows, Tonga. In one of those shows, we had him, Paulie Normus, another guy that we lost. We were in the locker room downstairs, and this was at the Quincy Armory.
Yes.
And I know it was early. I don't know if you were upstairs, but it was early in the day. And those that follow New England wrestling, they might remember this fan, Hogan Hat.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So Hogan Hat, you know, we were in the Quincy Armory. There's a double doors with like some thin windows, and we could see through these stairs that come down because the bathrooms that the boys use, the fans have to use them also. So he's coming down the steps, and Mike's like, is that a mock? Bolts out the door. There's Hogan Hat. He's like, what do you think you're doing? Hogan Hat's like, I'm going to the bathroom, Mike. Oh, no, you're not. You're trying to sneak into the locker room. Get the fuck back upstairs. So, you know, they get into an argument. And all of a sudden, when Mike challenges Hogan Hat to a fight, Hogan Hat cocks back and punches Mike in the face. And Mike goes down.
Wow.
So now there's a big jug of like those army jugs that they fill with water and stuff. He tries to pick it up to throw it at him, Mike does, and he can't lift it. So I'm just hysterically laughing at this point. Paulie and Norman's the same. He said, come on, guys, get this motherfucker. And we're just laughing. You know, Hogan Hat, I think, scored it out. I guess he's like, I'm going to get the fucking cops. I'm going to get my boys after you. But I don't know if anybody else knows that Mike got cocked by fucking Hogan Hat.
Wow, I've never heard that story.
Yes, he got punched in the mouth.
So I think Hogan Hat is Mike Madden, if I remember correctly.
Is he still around?
I haven't seen him in years. Him and his brother used to go to shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if we can ever find Hogan Hat, he's going to confirm, because I was there, I was dead in center, that he punched Mike Spotter in the face at the Quincy Armory.
Wow.
Only one that I know to have done it.
What a story.
Yes.
So let's talk about a little more about UCW, your time in UCW. Of course, you'd go from UCW to IIW, International Independent Wrestling, which was kind of the next phase for them. Anthony Rufo would kind of put his efforts in along with others, Mr. Biggs, Tommy D. You know, behind the scenes, it was kind of a collaboration of promotions. What are your specific memories, if any, from UCW or IIW?
UCW, you know, if I go back to the time when Anthony first got things together, they did like an invasion angle with Eugenio where they brought in guys and did some work at the PAO in New Bedford, and they did that whole invasion angle. And I know Anthony, through his first phase, was running like Attleboro, the Armory. I think he got to run and all that. And I came in for that second, like you said, that second go around with UCW. You know, with Travis Funk and Gary Gold and all those guys. And then you know, there I had some good times. I ended up winning the title there, the heavyweight title. Before that, I was tag team champions with a friend of mine that I now work with, Chris Blackheart. You know, we had a good run for Anthony there. And when it got transferred over or marriage with Mr. Biggs, same deal there. I came in and shortly I started working together with Blackheart, and we became the tag team champions there. I mean, it was a good group of guys. We always have fun. Those shows were easy. You know, I know when Anthony was running Braintree, the Moose Lodge, I believe, those shows were packed. You know, we worked some good packed houses in there in those Braintree Moose Lodge shows. So just fun shows with good guys.
Chris Blackheart, how did that friendship start? You guys, obviously, like you said, you were a team. You won the tag team championships. You ended up teaming in several promotions, but what was how did that start for you?
Ironically enough, I used to hate working Blackheart. In the beginning, when I met Chris, you know, he'll tell you the story how we met. I'll leave that to him. But I used to hate working Blackheart. We just didn't click. And on one of the go-arounds, they were expanding Yankee Pro Wrestling into like South Coast Championship Wrestling. And they were doing two promotions because we had too many guys and we had a bunch of students that we needed to give work to. So they split the two rosters. Long story short, I used to work for both of them. In Yankee Pro Wrestling, I was tag team champion with Reverend Redemption at that time. We were working both shows. Eventually, we lost the titles. I started doing more stuff with Ricardo at SCCW. And for whatever reason, one day I get a call from Joe. He's like, hey, Blackheart? I'm like, yeah. We're tagging you guys up. I'm like, these fuckers are punishing me now. So I thought they were punishing me. Long and behold, we got to spend time, and it turns out that we're more alike than what I was guessing, and we hit it off, and we've been friends for like 29 years almost going on now. So
Yeah, you guys maybe didn't mesh well one-on-one, but you made a great tag team.
yes,
And sometimes you got to find out the hard way, by
yeah,
working
yeah,
and this. But
definitely. You just never know, man. Because like I said, who would have ever thought we'd become friends? Outside the ring, he's one of my guys, and I still work for him to this day.
I always enjoyed Blackheart's just his mentality as a heel, coming out pointing. He would always point at the crowd and pick on
I'm gonna
somebody.
take your grandmother out to dinner, and she's gonna like it.
And the older people would get so mad. It was great. It was
Yes.
really good.
Yeah. Definitely old school. I always told Blackheart, you were in at the wrong time. I guess, at the 80s, early 80s, you would have made some money, real money doing this, He had that classic 80s wrestler look,
Yes.
with the long blonde hair, he had the husky build, and like you said, he would go out there and point to your face and tell you a few things, and people get upset.
Yeah. He had the
Yeah.
Sabu pants. Let's talk
Yes.
about Sabu. What was it like working with Sabu in Arlington, Vermont?
That was, as you know, because we ended up, I believe we ended up following each other on the way back home.
Yeah.
That day started pretty easy. I mean, at the time, I remember my girlfriend was pregnant, and she was about 7.5 months at the time, and I was trying to see if leaving her in the house or bringing her with me. I didn't want her go into labor or something like that, So I said, "Yeah, you're coming along." So ended up picking up Sabu at Logan Airport. We headed to Arlington, which is like a 5.5 hour ride. Is up there, and everything was fine. Sabu was in good spirits. I worked him before with Jose Perez, like I said, in tag team scenarios. So everything was cool. And then I got there, and I believe that day, if I'm not mistaken, when we got there, and I know you might have been around during this conversation, that Spotter wanted me to be like fucking D'Lo Brown or something, but wear the hood and then get unmasked, and it wasn't there. I'm like, Mike, I'm not doing it. Dr. Tom's here. I'm trying to get looked at. I'm not doing that. Nope, they don't know the difference. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it, Mike. Yeah, you fucking guy. You never listen. You gotta listen to me. So that became famous.
Right?
What was that?
You replaced Al Snow, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that moment became famous because Sabu ended up puking all over the ring, and he ended up choking on his puke. And I remember that I tossed him to the outside, and I started clubbing him as hard as I could because he was choking. Kenny Casanova was my manager for that show, and that was the only one time somebody ever puked in the ring with me. And then I got some in the side of my mouth. Yeah, that was definitely a lifetime experience there. And I unfortunately we lost Terry, and I got to see him before him passing the year prior. We had him at Royal Crown Wrestling, and we joked about it. And he signed the book. I'm like, Terry, I've had this booked all this time. Sign the book for me, bro. And then we went out to eat to Kowloon's, and that was the last time I saw Terry. But I was glad that we got to joke about it and have a laugh and had dinner and had a good time. Yeah. And he's definitely a guy that, again, seeing the gimmick and knowing the person is a complete different deal, because he was a great guy.
Yeah,
great guy, humble.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, good guy, real good guy.
Yeah, I was sitting ringside there, obviously as the ring announcer, and he threw up on me. He threw up on my shoes. It was pretty rough. That was rough.
Yeah, It was a rough night at the job, and then Mike comes out with a mop. Said, "Let me do it. You guys don't know what the fuck you're doing." He's throwing vomit all around. It
Yeah.
was quite 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 the mess.
I remember
Mike,
that fans were complaining because what he was doing, like you said, he was just spreading it around. So now the whole area smelled like puke.
yeah, like vomit. Yep, it was rough, man. I feel sorry for whoever else came before that. Were we the last match? I don't remember.
I think that was the main event. Yeah.
Okay, so luckily for the rest of the guys that were on that card, I know there was like the Highlanders and Brody Lee was on the card. Luckily for them, they didn't get to wrestle and puke. So,
Right.
you're welcome.
Right. And driving home from that show, I remember the fog was so bad, and
Yes.
we were right behind you, and we had the lights. We could barely see your license plate,
Yeah.
and we were going so slow. That was a scary drive home.
Yeah, we made it back. I mean, we were the only two that were coming from Rhode Island, so we're like, we gotta follow each other to make it home. And
Yeah.
we drove. I think we drew overnight because we finished that show late, so it was morning time by the time we got back into Rhode Island.
Exactly. Yep. I remember
Yeah.
stopping into a 7-Eleven, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was a good time though. Good
Yeah.
good show, and that was a great chapter for me. Like I said, my debut there. So a lot of good things to come there. So for you, WWA, obviously a mainstay for quite a while with you as well, multiple times, like you said. What would you say is your greatest challenge? Not in the ring, obviously, but your greatest challenge within the industry thus far?
Right time, right place. Because I've been to the top organizations and I've been a part of a lot of things. But for whatever reason, at the times that I've been there, either like I built a relationship with Mike Bucci, he got let go right when I was in talks of getting an opportunity, and you build up another relationship, those people get let go, just not the right time and the right place to get a run somewhere that was substantial and actually get a job.
I remember that
Grateful,
Arlington show. Bert
grateful
was,
for opportunities, but
oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember Berto came up to me, Bert Centeno, at the Arlington show, and he mentioned how Dr. Tom, who was in the crowd, obviously as a scout, was a big fan of my work. And
Mm-hmm.
and this being my debut already, I was nervous, because I didn't know a lot of the guys there.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm really nervous. I'm like, okay, let me, pull it together. And I remember Mike Spada coming up to me and saying that the same thing, just kind of, Tom is really high on you as an announcer. They're
Mm-hmm.
look, they're looking for a full time announcer in WWE. And I was like, man, okay. And he's like, don't change anything. Don't change your
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
Keep your hair exactly how it is now at the next show. And, and then Bert at the following show, I think Bert had mentioned to me that I had maybe a tryout coming up. Like Tom was talking about, it's
Mm-hmm.
possible I had a tryout. And then Tom was let go from WWF.
Yeah, no, that definitely is on the money because I heard the same thing. I heard the conversations because you got to do the camp, Joe Bruen,
Yeah.
and and I was at one of those camps, and I remember hearing Tom talk about you, and in that sense that he was going to bring you up to do a tryout and all that. He was talking it over with Mike, so that was accurate. Like I told you, I mean, I've always been a fan of your work as an announcer. I think you got a great voice, and it's unfortunate he got let go and you didn't get to get looked at.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's it is what it is, and who knows? I mean,
It's
if
never
I
too late, bro.
yeah,
Never too late.
yeah,
You know.
Justin Roberts, he filled that void. They were looking for that full time announcer, so I went to him, and he had like a 10-year
Yeah, he had a great run, man.
run there.
Great
So
run.
good for him, and at least it went to somebody who did a great job and had the passion, for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
But this is my passion now, doing the podcast. I really enjoy doing this, and
And that's great, man. And you're
so
doing a great job. Like I talked off air, and I said that I started watching some of the stuff, and great job so far.
I appreciate that.
Mhm.
So we talked about the greatest challenge in the industry. On the flip side of that, what would you say has been most rewarding for you so far?
Rewarding, just for me as a kid that grew up, dreaming to do this, like I said, the opportunities I'm grateful for, just being able to do things that I've never thought that would be possible. I just wanted to wrestle. I just want to be a wrestler, and that led me to wrestle guys that I've never dreamed of, guys that I watched growing up on television. And not only that, learn from them and get the respect from them, and also going through those doors, as it takes a lot. Fans don't know how hard it is to go through the doors, whether it is in a small role or whatever. When it comes to WWE or a big company, it takes a lot, especially in those days.
Yeah.
Back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Now it's more of an open field, I'm not gonna say it's easier, but in a way it is, because we didn't have social media. We didn't have all these outlets that we have now to introduce ourselves to an audience. We have to get our 8x10 photo and put our information in the back and do a videotape and send it. Hopefully they'll watch it.
Right.
Nowadays you press a button, there it is. So, yeah, those are the things that I'm really grateful for, and just being able to have achieved a childhood dream, to me is great.
So, chiming in your inner fan, what would you say is your Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling?
Hmm. I'm gonna be biased, man, because me. I'm proud of my heritage. I've always represented Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Carlos Colon, to me, just because I grew up watching some of the stuff, and I was there and I seen some of the stuff live. I mean, that guy, they could not build an arena, a stadium that was big enough to hold the fans when Carlos Colon was the guy. He was the Hulk Hogan of the Caribbean. So Carlos Colon has to be in there. Going to Hulk Hogan, coming to the States, 84, 85, Hulkamania. That was my guy in the States. So Hogan has to be in it. Then later down the line, I started appreciating more of the workers and stuff like that. It's funny because everybody credits, Brett for being one of the greatest workers, and deservingly so. But I was an Owen Hart guy. When they had that feud, and Owen was the brat and all that stuff, and I started seeing the shit that he was doing, man, Owen could do it all.
Yeah.
He was well ahead of his time. A lot of the stuff you see now, Owen was doing back then. So Owen Hart was one for me too,
Awesome.
So those would be the guys, and obviously, going back, eventually working and seeing guys like Ric Flair and all those guys later down the line. Once I started appreciating the work sense of pro wrestling, but as a fan, those were the guys that excite me. The Carlos Colons, the Hulk Hogans, Owen Hart, those type of guys.
Owen Hart and Bret Hart, one-on-one. They opened up WrestleMania 10, arguably the best opener, in WrestleMania history. Just a fantastic match. That was the first time that they had work, so it was a big deal. But I feel like Owen Hart versus Bret Hart, SummerSlam 94 in the steel cage, is never talked about. And that's like a 45-minute masterpiece.
That was a great match too. That was an awesome match.
Good.
And I was rooting for Owen, man. I really thought that Owen should have gotten a slight run for the title at that time. So I don't know what happened, but like I said, Owen was my guy during that whole thing.
Yeah. Owen definitely, one of the best to do it, in my opinion. The Hart family, just so much talent came out of that family. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Definitely.
So on the flip side of that, let's look at the Mount Rushmore of the independents for New England, specifically for the men. What would you say?
That's a tough one, and that could be any era.
Any era.
So as far as journey guys, I gotta put my boy Berto in there, because like I said, I turned the TV on, and whether it was Superstars, Wrestling Challenge, or whatever the case might be, Berto was on there. And that was as Bercenteno, and obviously we know he got the other character over, El Mascarado. He got that over as well. So, to put two characters over in the same time at the same time, that's something that not a lot of people could do. So, kudos to him on that. Wow, there's so many guys, man, in New England that Mount Rushmore guys. Oh man, trying to think. It could be guys during my time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Going back, I mean, to all the guys that I've seen of in my time in wrestling as well, that we kind of came up together in different outlets. A guy that I always thought that was going to be a huge star, and he was definitely on the money, and I don't know why I never did, was John Walters.
Yeah.
John Walters, another guy that I got to meet, and talk to, always humble, always good attitude, and his work was mint, and for whatever reason, not the right time, not the right place for John, because he's one of those guys that definitely should have made it to stardom. He has to be on there, in my opinion. Another guy, let's see, I'm trying to think here. Another guy from that time that I think also would have been a great star and solid worker all the way around was Slick Wagner Brown.
Yes.
Slick was a guy that he had the work skills, he had the look. I don't know, another one of those guys. Like I said, not the right time, not the right place. So those guys all belong on that list.
Yeah. Yeah, you look at different territories, and I guess it's easy to say if you're from that area, which obviously we're from New England, so it's easy to say there's so much great talent, and then you could probably say that in any area if you're from there. But I truly believe that New England has had more talent than anywhere else as far as, just amazing talent over the years.
Oh, without a doubt, man. You go down the line, and it's not because we live here, like you said, or we're bragging. You go down the line and you see guys that have made it, and that like right now, like Tommaso Ciampa and Handsome Johnny. To me, he's still Handsome Johnny.
Yeah.
Anthony Green. I mean, you name it, they all have Christian Casanova. I keep going on. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna stop, you keep. Oh, that's another guy. I mean, the history, it speaks for itself from the Walter Kowalski times and the history of him training guys down here. I mean, the boss is from this area. Triple H. I mean, so.
You look at John Cena, you look at Sasha
Yeah.
Banks.
Yes. So, there's not much to say to oppose that when it comes to professional wrestling and New England ties.
And then closing out the Mount Rushmore, New England specific for the women. Any era.
For the women, I would say Mercedes Martinez, right off the bat. I mean, she was a girl. She worked like one of the boys. She wasn't like she's a female. No, she worked like a worker, like a pro. I'm a big fan of that. Let's see. I have to say Ariel.
Yep.
I've seen her come in as a 15-year-old in the business, and she progressed. She made her ways, and definitely one there that definitely made her strides in New England. Nikki Rocks.
Yeah.
Definitely another one that actually, went TNA and in her time was one of the best women wrestlers around. So.
Absolutely. So beyond that, let's talk about the venues. Obviously, you travel from show to show, venue to venue all these years. You mentioned the PAO Hall earlier, which is a very unique location and has a really cool feel. What are some of your personal favorite venues that you've worked in over the years?
New England, it has to be, PAL. That building was meant for wrestling. Just the sound when that building used to be packed and we'd be in there with like 400 people. Was insane. PAL definitely in New England. Going to Puerto Rico and wrestling at Pepin Cestero Coliseum, which is like the church of wrestling in Puerto Rico. Getting to experience that for IWA back in 2005. was amazing. This is something I used to watch again, going back as 4-year-old Richie. I would see the cards being announced in the local television. Pep and Cestero Coliseum, Carlos Colon against the Invader, Carlos Colon Abdullah the Butcher, and coming down that aisle and having your name called, and you have whatever it was at the time, 8,000 people in the crowd. Definitely one of my favorites there. That closed up the gap of the dream.
Yeah.
So,
and obviously, another important man or woman in the ring would be the referee. Just as important as the wrestlers themselves. Over the years, you've worked with dozens and dozens of referees, I'm sure. So, who would your favorite ref? Did you have a favorite ref to work with over the years?
I got to work a lot. What in my goings with Scott Dickinson. He was the first introduction as somebody as a pro. Because he would call shit for you, and oh, you got this much, go to whatever you need to go to. That what a referee should be. And going down, I don't want to lecture, but that's missing from pro wrestling right now. Not a guy that's watching, is a guy that's involved in the match and is kind of helping. Out of call here, they keep calling. But yeah, having a guy that's involved and is helping achieve what you're trying to achieve in that story in that match. That's missing nowadays. But Scott Dickinson was a good one. NEWA, I enjoy Itch Perez.
Oh, yes.
He had that professional feel as well. Itch, definitely one of the good ones. Let's see, going down the path here. Bob Costa was another one. That was a good ref.
Yep.
Yeah, those were the ones that I recall from the area like that. Other than special guest referee Danny Davis, and then wrestling Dangerous Danny Davis, and then having him wrestling Danny too for Sparta. So
yeah, obviously we've had Tom Doyle, we've had Mickey Lee, we've had Slick Willie Jackson over the years. Zach Carter, of course. Zach the ref.
Zach, Rich Baz.
Rich
Baz. I gotta put those guys in there. Zach Carter, definitely a kid that had at one point the ability to go somewhere, as well as Rich Baz. Those guys were good.
Yeah,
good hands.
Yeah, lots of great refs over the years. Referee Peter B, Seth Holmes. Man, it's been a lot over the years, that's for sure.
Yes.
So, any other road stories that come to mind when you think, you've told a couple? Anything else come to mind over the years?
That's a lot, but I'll get in trouble. I mean, but I had some good ones with Zach and Damian Darlin and in our trips going around. I remember Damian. We did a show at the Hot Air Balloon Fest in Long Island, New York, for Bobby Rydell. And we just made it because Damian had to take a crap, and he jumps out the car, and he goes behind the car, takes a crap, and now he's yelling that he needs paper to wipe himself. So me and Zach just grabbed our stuff, closed the car, and just walked away and left him there. That type deal,
Man,
I think he uses socks, but he was like, "Oh, what friends I have, just dumb stuff we used to do on the road, and the midgets, Tiny and Half, traveling with them. I remember them getting into a fist fight at a truck stop, and I was gonna let them both stranded. I called Ricardo. I'm like, these guys are fist fighting. I'm not babysitting. They're gonna stay over here in the middle of nowhere. So, we got to the hotel. I forgot what town we were in, what city. Got to the hotel. Tiny stood in the room with us, and Half Nelson met these people at the truck stop, and he disappeared. Next day, we gotta get on the road. We gotta go make the town. He's nowhere to be found. We're about to leave. He pulls up in a pickup truck with these random people, dropped them off, hopped in the car, went to the next town. Rest is history. Stuff like that. I mean, you meet I've gotten to meet the oddest people, but I've had the best of times throughout all those odd stories.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we lost Half Nelson, Jason. He passed away not too long ago.
Yes.
Another one. It seems like there's just more and more that we lose too young, you know?
Yeah, man, definitely. Unfortunate that we lose all these guys, and it just seems like yesterday we were having these crazy times.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you talk about Jose Perez and how you guys teamed up early on. You've also been involved with the Los Banditos, of course, Pretty Boy Hernandez, Jose Perez, Yankee Pro Wrestling, Wreaking Havoc. Why don't you tell us about some of the different iterations of tag teams with Jose?
So Jose, the first interaction was obviously I said I was a bodyguard of that group. He was El Diablo at the time. Then after that, I think the first time we ever did work as a unit was Los Banditos, which was a group of many of us, like you said, Pretty Boy Hernandez, Reverend Redemption, Hugo, Jose Perez, and myself. But teaming up as just us, our first go around was as the Desert Destroyers for Spotter. And then Jose had a falling out with Mike. He went about his own thing. Fast forward a couple years, I got the call to go and start doing some work for New England Championship Wrestling, Sheldon Goldberg, and at the time Matt West and Kyle Storm. They had pitched me the idea because prior to that, I had sent over to Rich Bass. Actually, ironically, Rich Bass. I was doing a show, and I told Rich Bass that a guy that I had met in Puerto Rico was moving out here, and he was a great hand, looked great, great worker. His name was Lewis, and he eventually worked NECW as Ryan Bisbal.
Yes.
And his girlfriend Ivy. So I was the ones that got them involved with coming into NECW. And the plan was eventually, you'll come in and join. So the original Wreaking Havoc was myself and Ryan Bisbal. I came in to join Bisbal, helped him out in some situation he had with some of the heels there. We teamed up. Sheldon had the Tag Team Classic going on that year. Ryan and I went on to winning the Tag Team Classic that year. And later down the line, we had an issue with the Crown Jewels. Jason Rumble and I think it's Darling Damon.
Yep.
Darling Damon with Tony Ulysses.
Oh.
And I got the call from Rich Bass saying we're gonna do like the Freebird thing with Jose Perez joining you guys. We're gonna do this angle. He's gonna come out of the crowd. Jose Perez joined us. Then they kind of deviated Lewis as a singles competitor, and they pitched, we want to push Wreaking Havoc with you and Perez as a tag team. And man, we clicked. I mean, we just, he was the gringo kind of Puerto Rican. I was the full-blown Puerto Rican with the accent. And we both had the similar style. We both liked the hard-hitting style, and we just fit, and we had some great matches there in NACW. I think, to be honest, I think if we would have got together earlier and had the run that we were having at NACW earlier, we probably would have went somewhere with that, man. Really do. And same thing with Bert. Bert and I, we just clicked. We had instant heat. Everywhere we did that Puerto Rican franchise gimmick, we had just tons of heat.
Yep.
So it was just easy. When you could do that, when you could work with somebody that you could just look at him and he knows what you're trying to do, and vice versa. I mean, that's just is money, and that's what it was with those guys.
So you may not have any memory of this, but it's pretty funny story. So, any memory of the fabulous Bariquas?
The fabulous Boricuas. Yes, I do got memories of that.
So my HWF show, which was March of 2000, it was Massachusetts Massacre.
Yes.
Derek Destiny had always wanted to kind of dabble in booking. He wanted to be at least just book one show. He wanted to check that off the list.
Mm-hmm.
So I let Destiny, kind of co-book the show with me. So there was like 2 or 3 matches, that he
He
participated.
booked you and all the guys, Joe.
Yeah, and he booked the fabulous Bariquas. I didn't know who they were. He told me, listen, I've got these guys, father and son tag team, the fabulous Bariquas, trained by Killer Kowalski.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. I mean, trained by Kowalski, let's do it.
Yeah,
Got him
must
on
be
the
good.
show. Yeah, got him on the show, and come to find out, I think one of them was trained by Kowalski briefly as a referee,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other one just wasn't trained or something like that. And
Yeah.
so we find out the hard way. They're in a battle royal. I had a 30-man over the top rope battle royal. Bob Evans is in there, Alex Arion, Mike Steele, yourself. Lucian Bagwell would go on to be the winner. And the fabulous Bariquas are in there. Anthony Rufo's in there. It's a who's who of New England vets. And you're one of the guys, I think, that decides to, if I remember correctly, throw one of the Bariquas over the top.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going. They're not going. So
Yeah.
you give them a stiff shot, right in the face, and these guys are like tarantulas, just kind of wrapped around the ropes, so they
Yeah.
can't get thrown out. What are your
Yeah.
memories of that show with that?
Oh, that was fun, man. That was it was time to go. I believe we had set it up for certain individuals to be the last guys before Lucian went over, and those guys had extended their stay. So it was time to go. I guess someone before me tried dumping them, and they kept on hanging in and all that. I'm like, yep, time to go, buddy. And I told them in Spanish. And when that didn't work, then I'm like, okay, so now it's time to give you some pepper. And that's what I did. It was just fun. So I got a story for you because I remember that. And I remember it well because I was reminded a few years ago about this story. So that kid, his son ended up doing a Power League show at Central Falls High School, and he came out as the manager of Carlos Arenas.
Really?
I guess he used to wrestle in Central Falls, and I ended up being the opposition of that match with Carlos Arenas. And, fast forward all these years, I got to meet the guy's daughter. His daughter came into our showcase to the training school to train.
Oh, my gosh.
And as she was training later down the line, she says, oh, you know my father and my brother. And I'm like, oh, really? Do I? She's like, yes, they know you. I guess you punched my father in the face. And I was like, no, they're not. I knew immediately, Joe. When she said that, I was like, I knew immediately because every time I see Bear, he reminds me of the time when I did that. So it stays fresh every so often in my mind. She's like, yeah, that's my father and my brother. They wanted to wrestle, or they were wrestling or whatever. So it's a generation thing, Joe.
Oh man, they're still coming.
Yeah,
well, at least they're getting properly trained now.
Hopefully. Well, she didn't last long. She's in I believe she's in the Navy now, and she does boxing and stuff like that. But hopefully we don't get the grandkids and the other generation of fabulous Boricuas coming in anytime soon.
Yeah, let's find a different sport.
Yeah.
I never heard of them again, and I didn't realize that the son did anything after that.
Yeah, he did. He was Carlos Arenas. He denies it. That's your manager.
And you just got a little brush with them in the battle royal, but they were involved in a tag team match that same night. They had their own match.
Jesus, I gotta watch that now.
Yeah, it was the Fabulous Boricuas versus the Rage, Zach Mason, and Mr. Biggs.
Okay, I gotta see that now.
And they're just no-selling everything. So Biggs leg drops the father on the floor the hard way.
Oh,
and no effect. Just keeps coming. I mean, they just wouldn't. I don't understand it. They just wouldn't. Yeah, they're like cockroaches.
This guy was too stupid for his own good. Then
yeah.
Got a 400-pound leg drop in your face, and they got punched in the face. I mean,
he was out of it. He kept coming.
He was an innovator, Joe. I think he was training to work for AEW.
Oh yeah,
Innovator of the no cell.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good memories though. Pretty funny to look.
Yes, definitely, man.
Although
Definitely.
dangerous, I don't recommend. If you're not trained, do not tell people you are trained
Yeah,
because
don't tell them you were trained by one of the best in the area too, and,
yeah,
and wrestling in general.
and
Kowalski.
obviously everybody that's been in the business for a while, they can notice right away.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so you guys, you, Bob Evans, I remember Anthony Rufo lighting him up with a chop in there. He's like, "All right,
Hmm.
well,
Yeah,
I'll show 'em what it's like in here."
yeah. Those guys were extending their stay to the fullest. I think they wanted to win the whole thing and shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking back at your career, what would you say are your top 3 matches, in your personal opinion? Your favorites?
My favorites. There's one match that I always look back on. It was against Chris Hemrick.
Hmm.
I believe it was Middleborough High School, if I'm not mistaken. That was one of my favorite matches, just because another guy that I watched, a guy that was respected in the territories, kind of like the scene, and he was so giving, wanted to put on the best match, and he brought me to that next level in that match. You meet people that are better, that elevate you. He was one of those in that scenario. Another guy that I enjoy working with a lot because I got to work him so many times was Tony Atlas.
Yes.
Tony Atlas and I have worked so many, and he jokes about it every time I see him. He's like, "Oh, how many times we work, kid? I've worked you more than anybody." I'm like, "Yeah." There was a 1 year stretch, Joe, that Eugenio was doing shows all over, and we had over 100 shows. These were like those telemarketed shows
Yeah.
that he used to run. And Tony and I worked every single show. So in that run, I worked them like 100 times.
Wow. You guys even had a table match at one point.
We had a tables match, we had cage matches. I mean, you name it, we've had it. So he was a guy that showed me to slow down and less was more. He's like, just slow down, kid. Listen to the people. We're not doing anything out of the ordinary, but just listen. And to me, that took me from high school to college, working with a guy like Tony so many times. So he has to be on that list. Again, going back to my childhood, the matches, interactions, whether it was teaming up or against Savio Vega,
Hmm.
guy that I watched as TNT in Puerto Rico, and later on he came to the States and became Queen, and obviously Savio Vega, and he's another guy that's held in high regards in Puerto Rico, along Carlos Colon and many others. So to be able to have wrestle him and call him a friend now and have a relationship as a friend with him, that's definitely something that I appreciate, and one of those things that you just never thought it would take place.
Yeah. Funny Savio story for you. So, as a fan, I was always good at kind of figuring out who everybody was. If they changed their gimmick, if they put on a mask, for WWF and
Yeah.
WCW, I was always able to decide, who it was. And I remember when Quang disappeared, all of a sudden, up pops Savio Vega less than a year later.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Building 19 in Johnston, Rhode Island for a free autograph signing. And it was
Okay.
right before WWF, which was at the Providence Civic Center that night. And
Mm-hmm.
it was Savio Vega and the 123 Kid. So they're signing autographs at Building 19. I'm all excited. I'm like probably 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring my Royal Rumble 1995 program with me. Quang is in there as Quang,
Mm-hmm.
listed as one of the 30 participants. I'm with my friend Brian Selly, who Brian disagreed with me. He's like, no, there's no way Savio's Quang. It's not him. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, that is Quang. They do the same spin kick. They do,
Yeah, the same shit. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he's got the same size, that's Quang. And he's like, no, absolutely not. So I take the program up. I didn't even say anything to him. I just, said, would you mind signing this too? Because obviously he's not in it as Savio.
Yeah, he's
So 1, 2, 3 Kid signs it. Savio takes it. He's looking at it. He's looking through the pages, flips it. Oh, there's the Royal Rumble page. I knew it was coming. I said, "Oh man, this is." And Brian's looking on. I'm like, "This is fantastic." He looks at the Quang picture,
yeah.
signs right over it. Savio Vega, right over Quang. I'm like,
Yeah.
see, I told you it was him, and he still denied it. He's like, "No, that's just coincidence that he signed over
Yeah,
that." I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
"Oh."
yeah. You're not gonna sign over somebody's deal there at that
Yeah,
point.
he knew he was in
He,
there. He went right to it. So,
he's like, this kid is smart, a smart kid. You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny. He was supposed to come in as like TNT, but Vince didn't like the paint. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, and I guess there was other people coming in around that time that were gonna have paint. They were in talks with Road Warriors, I think, or something like that, and that's why Vince put him under the hood.
Okay. Wow.
So
Plus, they had
yeah,
what was it? The SWAT team that had paint.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
they were both there around that
Vince
time.
wasn't a big fan of face paint, I guess,
Okay.
So
I remember
they put him under the hood.
1996. Savio did the Caribbean Kid.
Caribbean Kid on the mask with Austin for like a short sting there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's talk about South Coast Championship Wrestling. Like you said, a sister brand to Yankee Pro Wrestling. Steve Ricard. Any memories from working for that promotion?
Like I said, South Coast was open because of the roster being so big and having so many guys to give work to the younger guys. And then eventually it became the number one promotion as far as the brand, doing all the telemarketing shows, like the bigger shows, the schools and stuff like that. And Steve and I had a real good relationship during that time. I actually met Steve in a show in Connecticut, random show in Connecticut, spot show in Connecticut. And then I saw him again when I started working for Tony Rumble. And he used to videotape the shows. He videotaped every show around New England, around the Northeast. Steve would go and tape the shows, and then he would sell you footage for $5, like the videotape.
Yep.
So I knew Steve from Rumble. Eventually, I brought Steve to a Puerto Rican festival in Providence. And he started mingling with Perez. Perez ended up bringing him to Eugenio. And a few years later, he became the booker, the slight partner. I don't know how that came about, but yeah, I mean, I enjoy working for CCW. I worked a lot of guys there, a lot of younger guys that went on to doing some good stuff in New England, like Brandon Webb, Doubles Reject, Brandon Webb, Frankie Bain, GQ Smooth. Who else?
Whatever happened to GQ Smooth?
I don't know what happened to GQ, man. He was good.
I
He
always
was
thought
definitely,
he was gonna be one of those guys that might make it. He had the charisma and the character, and he had the look.
yeah, he had the look. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he became a cop or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but
Steve was
definitely a good guy, good group of guys. A lot of young talent that came through SCCW. Jason Blade at the time, young Jason Blade, Mike Pava, Kurt Daniels. I mean, a bunch of people that came through that time.
the late Reverend Redemption. We talked about him earlier. Any memories of Derek now?
Oh man, Derek was like a big brother to me, man. We had some fun times. Like I said, we teamed up. We had some title runs. We worked names together. We worked Bushwhackers several times. Him and I. Just a good guy to be around. Funny guy. He would try to joke around and make you laugh if you were down on something. That was Derek. Always laughing, always joking. Just a good guy, man.
And you
Highly
mentioned,
missed.
yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Shane Link as well. The late Dave Jackson, who of course was the Reverend Shane Brannigan, the Reverend Shane Link. Memories of him as well.
Same thing, man. He was a great guy. Like I said, he was one of those guys that saw me lingering around with nothing to do, and took a chance to make me feel welcome, and he made me his bodyguard, gave me something to do, and he was always good to me and my dad, bro. He
Yeah.
was a good dude.
And you talked about, how you're still working with Chris Blackheart to this day, Showcase Pro Wrestling, SPW. Obviously, you're a part of the school there. You're a part of the shows.
Hmm.
Why don't you tell us about you've been there for years now. Why don't you tell us about your time with Showcase Pro Wrestling and working with Chris Blackheart on that level?
So Showcase been around since 2007. Chris opened up the doors, and I started as part of his original group there and worked several years. And then I went and did my thing. I left and did other stuff, came back. I've always had a home at Showcase, always had a home with Chris. Now working in depth, doing his booking and some of his production stuff and helping with the school. Chris has always been a fair guy. You hear different people talk, and you know how the wrestling business is. If it's not part of that clique that you're in, you must be no good. It must be this. And people talk without having that interaction with a person sometimes. You have to be there. You have to feel. It's kind of like what you said about Spotter. We could share that same scenario with Mike because I go to places and there's guys that will shit all over Mike. Oh, he stiffed me for money. Oh, he's a prick. Or he's that. But to me, he was always a good dude. I had some of the best times working for Spotter, and he always took care of me. I would go to those camps. I never paid a dime. He would pay me to wrestle, and I would work the names that he was bringing in. So I can't share the thoughts of guys shitting on him. And sometimes guys get mad because I can't share those thoughts. I'm like, yeah, he was a crazy mofo, but me, he was a crazy good mofo to me. So I could only voice my opinions on the interactions that I've had. And Blackheart, there's been people along the way that criticize his way of booking or his way of running shows. People that have never worked for Chris. To me, Blackheart, and not because he's my friend, he's a fair guy. If he could do something, he's going to tell you to your face, I could do it. If he can't, he's also going to tell you to your face because he doesn't care. He doesn't care to lie to anybody. He doesn't need to lie to anybody. So to me, a person like that has my respect because he's transparent. He's not going to tell you what you want to hear. He's going to tell you what you need to know. And that's why I think Blackheart and I have been friends for so many years. That's why I think right now, we got a bunch of guys that are coming up in the business that are great, great talent that just need to get in the right eyes. And people are going to say, oh, shit, these guys could go. So I'm grateful for him having that trust of me coming back and running his company and helping his product.
And let's talk about Kenny Dykstra. He's there as one of the trainers as well. Tell the fans or somebody looking to get into the business, all the details about the Showcase Pro Wrestling School and how they can get involved.
So, pretty easy. Promoter at Showcase Pro Wrestling, promoter at Showcase Pro Wrestling. All our social media is at SP Wrestling. There's info about the school. We're open Mondays through Wednesdays from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. And we try to now we're expanding to having different minds, different coaches. We have John Callahan shows up on Tuesdays and still helps the guys, get that old school feel of wrestling, what it used to be, and how you can make it new again. We have BRG comes down on Tuesdays and works with the guys. I'm usually there on Mondays. I would pop in and out on Wednesday sometimes, but Wednesday is the advanced class with Kenny. He's more focused on taking you to that next level of what they're looking for on television and getting you set for that scenario. So we got a mix for everybody. If you really want to do this, I wish I would have had this type of deal going on when I started back in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely a great opportunity for young men and women that are serious about the business and want to get proper training with some people that are currently there.
Yeah.
So
You've had the opportunity to work with a lot of tag teams in the New England scene over the years. I'll mention a few of them here, and any memories you may have of some of them. The French Connection, of course, Rush and Antoine
Antoine
Rouleau,
Roy, yes.
Tony Roy. Of course, you had the Def Row in Mike Spada's
Oh
promotion.
man, yeah.
The EOS, the Elements of Suicide, Cinna and Onyx. You had the Damned, Draven and Matt Storm, of course. The Hot Boys, DJ and AJ Hot. You also worked with the Power Company twins, Dave and Dean. You also worked with Duke Maximum and Ryan Waters. What are your memories of any of those tag teams over the years?
So Rush and Tony Roy, two great guys. Tony Roy, one of the easiest guys you could work with. I mean, light as a feather, as Bert Centeno would say. Just easy. You could just go in there. He'll call stuff while you're going at it, and easy guys to work with. Ryan Drew, of course, he's a trainer in his own right, and he runs his promotion. Definitely day and night from what it was back then when he was a kid, teaming up with the other young man there. The Hot Boys, the young team that came through SCCW, worked a lot with Blackheart and I think AJ is the one with less hair, I believe. And I've seen him a few years back. Always a great guy. Always a good guy when I see him. Always respectful. They were both nice kids. Dave and Dean, the Power Company, the twins. Talk about a team of Mike Spotters. I mean, they were good. They were good dudes. But at the same time, you had to have everything laid out. Like I remember working with them in the beginning, and they would map out the match, and if there was like empty Gatorade bottles, they're like, "Oh, brother's gonna come over here. Brother's gonna be here. Brother's gonna do this." Very step-by-step scenarios, but fun. I mean, it gave you a different outlet. I mean, those guys looked incredible together. They were definitely guys that were larger than life. I mean, you don't see those type of guys running around in independent cards right now. Two guys that look like them, like that, and twins.
Right.
So definitely good times. Definitely a diversity of different tag teams. I enjoyed it.
What was it like working with King Kong Bundy?
Chris Bundy, he was the first time I worked him, he was tight, but I like working tight. I knew I was going to get splash, so I made sure I didn't eat that day. It was tight, but then I got to work him. I believe I worked with Chris about 4 times, and the rest was easy. I knew the match. He's going to take one bump for you, and you're dropping whatever you need to drop on him, and then when he gets up and does his comeback, he's doing the avalanche, and you go home. Yeah. And if you listen, he was great. Good dude.
1999, Somerville, Massachusetts, at the Good Time Emporium, another great venue, which is no longer around. NWA New England, you would wrestle Iron Fist one-on-one. Any memories of that?
Iron Fist was one of my guys, man. Early on, him and this other guy, forgive me, I forgot his name, but they were both big guys, bodybuilder type guys, and they came into to Yankee Pro. I think before I brought them into Yankee Pro. Remember Onyx?
Yes. Yeah.
I think they came around with Onyx, and Onyx introduced them to me, and I brought them both to Yankee Pro. They started doing shows there. The other gentleman broke his leg and quit, his partner, because they came as a tag team. And then Iron Fist and I became friends, and I was the one that actually brought him that day to Tony so he could get looked at and work me in that match you're talking about.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. So definitely a good dude. Another guy that had tons of potential. Great mind. Just a good guy. And he just disappeared. I don't know what happened, man. I lost touch with Iron Fist.
Yeah, I used to keep in touch with him. I mean, years ago. His name was Imwanza.
Yeah, Imwanza. Yep.
Yeah, and he was one of the nicest guys.
Yes, definitely, man.
He just wasn't around very long, and like you said, he pretty much vanished, and you'd never hear from him again.
Yeah, man, and it's a shame because he had it all, man. He had the look, charisma, and he could have made it. He could have made it somewhere.
Another promotion you've worked for over the years, and now you work with them, is Powerhouse Wrestling. So PHW, you were there on the roster initially years ago, and now you're working sometimes behind the scenes and putting shows together with
Hmm.
Chris Sataro. Why don't you tell us about Powerhouse Wrestling, your experiences there over the years?
So he's here without knowing he's here. I'll put him over. The two times that we got cut off is actually Sataro calling me. He's driving me nuts.
Oh,
We got our next show coming up in we got our next show coming up in April, and he has to call me every day from now till April. I love Chris. He's another character. I've known Chris, as you know. You work for Chris.
yep.
Uh, known him from a very early age. I've had some of the greatest times there working for him. And back then, man, Chris, as you know, you look at his poster, it was full with names, full of sponsors.
Yeah.
And we used to get some huge crowds, man, with Powerhouse Wrestling.
Yep.
I'm trying to bring. He just came back about maybe 2 years now. Started running shows again. Gave me a call randomly. Hey, Richie, I want you to come on board and help me. I said, sure, man, we'll do it. He still thinks we're back in 2000, drawing 900 people. That he needs to bring in 5 names and all this. I'm like, Chris, it's different times, man. You do that now, you're gonna lose your shirt most likely. So, you gotta ease it. Yeah. But yeah, definitely, Chris, man. I'm thankful to still have his friendship. We're friends. And another guy that has his trust on me to do his shows and to help his promotion. So I'm grateful for him. I have fun, and it's great that he's back doing it. I mean, he's loving it.
Yeah.
You'll have to stop by one of these days. He asked for you.
Does he really?
Yeah, he did.
Man, I haven't seen him in so long. I mean, yeah, obviously I used to ring announce there.
Yeah.
It was some pretty funny times there. I remember, Chris is a crazy guy, kind of like Mike Spada. He's a nice guy, but he's crazy though. And, I remember I was just in street clothes enjoying the show at one of the events. I don't know why I wasn't ring announcing. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden Chris is like, "Oh, you're going to ring announce."
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm in like a Nike sweatsuit or something. I was like, I don't have anything with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, "That's all right. Get in the ring. We'll do it." I'm like, okay. So then it was my idea. I kind of went over it with Johnny Fabulous, John Cena Sr., to pick on me because of what I was wearing. I was like, yeah, go to town on me because what kind of ring announcer shows up like this,
Yeah. Yeah.
So we did a gimmick where Cena Sr. kicked me out of the ring and put me down and, playing up the heel. And he may have even ring announced a few matches after he kicked me out.
I think he did actually. Yeah. I think John did some ring announcing.
Because I really didn't feel comfortable ring announcing that. I just didn't look the part. And I just felt like it was kind of, that one time.
You were in your head about the ring announcing beforehand, before getting started? Were you in your head before getting started about the ring announcing? This is why you didn't pick it up sooner?
What do you mean?
Like you didn't feel comfortable ring announcing? Is that what you're saying? Like,
oh no, I did. I wasn't booked.
Oh, okay, all right.
I wasn't ready to go.
You just wasn't comfortable because you wasn't dressed, you wasn't booked. He just kind of asked you to be in the mix out of nowhere.
Exactly. So for me, appearance is a big thing. And even though early on when I was a ring announcer, I didn't have the tux yet, but I would at least have, pants and a nice, button-up shirt.
Nice shirt. Yep.
And then obviously eventually I would go on to the tux. But like I said, I was in a sweatsuit. So I just felt like, so I kind of came up with that. Hey, why don't you do that? And Cena and I talked about it. I'll kick you out of the ring. So that worked out for that. But that was one of my memories there. My other memory is showing up for a show to ring announce, and all of a sudden I see this heavyset guy, a younger kid actually, and he's getting the guy's information. I was like, oh man, who's this guy? So I touched base with him. He's like, yeah, I'm ring announcing tonight. And I was like, well, I'm ring announcing tonight. And he's like, well, no, Chris booked me to ring announce. 5 minutes later, who walks up to me? Rich Palladino. And Palladino, Palladino's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm ring announcing the show. He's like, oh, I'm ring announcing the show. It
Oh,
was yeah, it was unbelievable, and, there was a lot of ECW guys on the show. I remember Justin Credible, uh, maybe Tommy Dreamer. There were a few. There were like 3 or 4.
what do you guys do? You split the
Yeah,
show?
he ended up Chris just booked, like, everybody to ring announce the show, and we're all doing different matches, and, he must have mistakenly just overbooked,
Well,
you
that's
know?
well, that's what he does. He'll call everybody. Like I said, I'm currently working with him now as far as booking the events, and he gets nervous 6 months out. I'm like, Chris, we got a lot of time in our hands here. You don't need to call these guys every day. I'll take care of it when the time is right. And
Yeah.
for whatever reason, he still does it. But like
I
I
enjoyed
said,
my time there, though.
it was a fun time back in those days. It's still a fun time now. Did I ever tell you about him and Spotter talking on the phone? I had them on. Oh,
Oh,
there's the
no.
look.
No.
I believe it or not, before Mike closed shop, I had them both talk to see if they could do something together, and it went nowhere because Mike. Oh yeah, Mike started putting over his shit and how he was tight with WWF. And Satara was like putting over his stuff and how he drew all these people. So it just never worked out. But it was
Wow.
entertaining to hear both of them interact.
Man, I imagine so. I don't think New England can handle that, though.
Oh man, that would have been a pay-per-view right there.
Yeah, in the locker room, all the boys would have been, watching that one.
Yes, I would have sold it to the independent guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brody Lee, an individual you'd work with for the WWA 2003, the late Luke Harper. What are your memories of working with him?
Easy match. Good dude. Spada didn't like him though. Said
Really?
guy in Vega, I don't fucking like him. Fuck him. I'm like, oh God. He's not gonna go anywhere. You know how he was.
Yeah,
He's
well,
not
that's
gonna
reasonable.
go anywhere. I'm like, but yeah, definitely great big guy. Unfortunate that we lost him too. Tremendous talent. Fortunate to have been a part of interacting in the ring with him.
Mm. Looking back at your career as a whole, what would you say is your number one moment in the industry, whether it be in or out of the ring?
Number one moment, even though I wasn't wrestling and it wasn't, like I said, there's many things that you dream as a kid and you want to achieve as an adult. And, obviously we all had dreams. And my main goal was the ultimate goal is to get a job and get a run somewhere. And, obviously the main company is the WWE. Getting booked for WrestleMania, being part of Batista's entrance and being in that stage, I would say it was a grand highlight. Not for me so much, is because at that time my father was really, really, ill with his cancer. And that was the only one time that he wasn't there physically with me in a scenario. And I actually prayed to God, let my father see me in the biggest stage or whatever in wrestling before you take him. And my prayer was answered and I was booked for that segment. And my father got to see me at the stage at WrestleMania, and I got goosebumps right now. You know that moment, it was for him, more than for me. I had this internal peace. Like, people ask me, oh, that must have been nerve-wracking. And I can honestly tell you that I get more nervous going out in front of 20 people than I did at that moment going out in front of 80. Because I just had this internal peace, man. I knew my father was watching, and I knew I could see him smile. In my head, I could see his smile. And to me, that was full circle, man. That's
Mission
the biggest
accomplished.
payoff. Yes, that was the biggest payoff for me. It can't
Yeah.
get much bigger than that.
Let's talk about all of your time with WWE. You've done many spots for them. You've been an extra in the crowd. You've been a part of brawls. You've been breaking up brawls. What has that experience been like? Kind of being a part of all those skits over the years. And how many would you say you've done, if you had to guess?
Wow, man. Like, back in when I first started going in, my first one was back in '07, and I was in that skit with Crime Time. Another guy we lost, Big Chad.
Yeah.
Those guys were fun. Going there afterwards, we kind of interacted a lot because we were young guys. We would kind of like hit it off. So he was always a nice guy going into the locker room, Chad. But man, it's crazy because one day you're in a locker room, like I said, you could be going in front of 20 people, and then Monday and Tuesday I was in a locker room in an arena with 20,000, and I'm seeing all these guys that it seems so far away from being, and you're there, and regardless whether you're the slightest part of the show, you're still part of the show. Every time that I was called to do something, I try to made it to the best of my ability as something big. You know what I mean? Whether it was being a security, whether it was being a EMT, and I mean, I got to interact with a lot of the big stars doing that, and also the agents, like doing a segment that was very popular at the time. That segment for a while, the one that Braun Strowman ran Roman Reigns with the stretcher off the ledge there, and then in the ambulance.
Yep.
That segment was produced by Triple H and Vince.
Wow.
So getting to interact with the boss himself, giving you direction, oh, don't do this, do that. That was cool, man. Those are moments that, for me as a wrestling fan and somebody that grew up wanting this are special,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, had some fun. I wish I would have had the opportunity to have wrestling matches and wrestle and get to run wrestling. But I'm thankful for everything else, and being able to show my little kid, hey, that's Dad. That was me there. It's cool.
Yeah.
Cool conversation piece.
I had that experience one time, and just able to. I was a lifelong fan, obviously, so it was living the dream for me. And I was there with my buddy Jay at the Providence Civic Center. We bought tickets to the show. We were just there to, check out the. We're going to get some lunch, see if there's any superstars there or whatever. And all of a sudden, I see the guys from Chaotic Wrestling kind of, piling up around the end of the wall there, and I'm like, wait a minute, what are these guys doing here? And Randy Miller walks over to me. He's like, "Hey, we're short one guy." And he knew me from, different shows and stuff. And he's like, "Are you in?" And I had no idea what he was talking about. And I'm like, "Sure."
You're
"Cool,
like,
yeah."
hell yeah. Yep.
And he slaps the backstage pass on my chest. And I'm like, wow, for me, that was a big deal. I was still young, and I hadn't been involved in any of that before. So I told my buddy Jay, I was like, "Sorry, Jay, I gotta experience." He's like, "No, go,
I got a
man."
dip, bro.
He's like, "No, go right ahead." So I go over there, and it's Edward G. Ecstasy and Ronnie Delicious and Randy and Luis Ortiz, Anthony Rufo, Vince Vicalo, John Walters, Arch Kincaid. It's like the whole crew over there. And so we start. Anthony and I are walking. Everybody's following. We're walking through the parking lot, and fans were. It was just kind of a surreal day. Fans are calling out my name as we're walking because, they knew me as a fan. I was there since the early 90s, trying to meet superstars. And now here I am on the other side of the wall,
Yes.
walking back there. I was like, man, what a feeling. And so we go back, and DDP holds the door for us, lets us in. We go in. Goldust is the first guy to greet us. He's super, super nice. And, it's just one of those surreal situations, and I'm back there, but I'm a little nervous too because I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know. Nothing's been explained to me, and I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, these are all workers. I'm just a ring announcer. So I'm like, are we going to get physical because I'm not a wrestler?
Yeah.
So that's in the back of my mind the whole time. So I'm trying to enjoy it, but I'm also thinking about that. But then I see Milo Masterson and Rich Palladino are there with us too. So I'm like, all right, well they're not
They're not
wrestlers. So
wrestlers. Yep.
maybe I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And we go in, and we're kind of lined up against the wall for a little while in the hallway. And Triple H and Stephanie come up to us, and they introduce themselves to each one of us individually, shake our hands. It was so nice. Obviously they don't have to do that.
Oh, of course.
And they don't have the time to do that, but they took the time. And So that was, a big moment. And Dave Hebner was in charge of paying us. So he paid us 250 each cash at the time. Now it's different
Is
now.
that when they had the briefcase full of money?
Yeah, he had the briefcase. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. And so that was a cool experience because I had no idea I was getting paid too. I said, wait a minute, I'm getting
Hmm.
paid $250.
Hmm.
Okay. And this was in February of 2002. And so then we find out we're going to be doing a skit at the uh, Tim White's bar, the Friendly Tap.
Early time, yep.
Yeah, it's men's night out, and ends up being a big brawl with the APA, Billy and Chuck, and we're just background people dancing, and they ask everybody to pair up and dance with each other because it's men's night out.
Hmm.
So it's supposed to be this funny skit, and 5 people out of the 20 had to wear a dress. So we're in props earlier in the day in the back, and I remember seeing the APA office set up there, the door.
The door, yeah.
I got a kick out of that. So I'm there in props, and they pick the 5 people that have to wear a dress, and I was like, all right. Felt kind of relieved. I didn't really want to wear a dress, but wasn't at the top of my list that day anyway. And Chad Wicks, who was one of the guys that was selected to wear the dress, who would go on to become one of the dicks in the WWE.
That was Billy Kryptonite, right? On the Indies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
lifeguard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he comes up with a funnier idea. He's like, "Well, why don't we do this where I unbutton my shirt part of the way?" And like he had all this, all these ideas. And Randy Miller's like, "Oh, I like that actually." He's like, "Yeah, why don't you do that?" And I saw that where this was going. I was like, "Oh man, it's coming. I know it's going to happen now." Randy turns around and he's like, "Joe,
You got the dress.
you were the last one to sign up.
Yeah.
You mind taking one for the team?" And I was like, "Man, of course. I mean, I did it,
Yeah. At that point, you're committed, man. There's
Yeah,
whatever,
I'm like,
whatever
yeah,
it takes.
let's do it. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was fine. It was a great time, and just I remember really good memories from that, and I remember back then it was still on a VHS tape, so they filmed half the segment earlier in the day. Then they
Hmm.
did the second half of the segment live. They put them together to make it look like it was one piece.
Yes.
The VHS tape got a police escort back to the Providence Civic Center. I do remember that. And then we all went back to the Civic Center, and we ate at the buffet backstage with all the guys. And remember, Short Sleeve was there at the Civic Center. Bob Evans was there. I think they had matches or
Yeah.
skits or whatever. And I think it might have been Bob Evans versus Damian Sandow, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I was at that show. If it's that show, I think Bob Evans wrestled a dark match against Aaron Stevens.
That's what it was. Yes.
Yes, I was at that show and the
That's
crowd.
why
Yep.
the position opened up because Aaron Stevens was the 20th guy and he had to stay back, so they needed one guy. So that was me.
Well,
And
thank you, Aaron Stevens.
yes, absolutely. But it was a full circle thing, to arrive there as a fan. All of a sudden, I'm part of the show, which was surreal for me. And then to come full circle, I go through all that. I soak it all in. It was unbelievable. And then all of a sudden, after you get paid, they're like, all right, you can just go watch the show. So now I'm a fan. So I go to, they gave us tickets, obviously, to the show.
Hmm.
But I already had a ticket because I was going with my buddy Jay. And I had felt bad because Jay was there alone now watching the whole show.
So you went back and sat with your buddy?
I went back and sat with Jay, and I sat down, and the main event entrances had just started. It was Mr. Perfect against Stone Cold. And so it was so cool to have that full circle. I'm a fan. I'm part of the show. Now I'm back as a fan with my friend. And just to take all that in, it was like, man, how did that even happen? Like, what just happened?
It's one of those things, like I was saying before, right time, right place, and if it's that right time, you're gonna get it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like I always knew going in, and I got good feedback. I had matches prior to Raw and SmackDown when I went there, because the way they would do it, they would have these tryout matches. They would pair guys off. When I first started doing it, was more open ring where you get to wrestle, the talent.
Right.
But then they started getting strict because of idiots and other places messing things up, and sneaking in there and, that whole scenario. So it was very tight ship. And they would pair off the indie guys. You have 5 minutes to go out there and wrestle and put on a match, whether it was being taped to watch later by whoever, the feed was live around the arena, so Vince could have been watching. I got to do many of those, got good feedback. And I always knew if they're looking for a Puerto Rican guy, that's the real deal, got the accent, ball-headed, look like he's been in a few fights, I'm going to have a spot, Actually, we joked about this years back. Myself and Handsome Johnny were joking about that. We were both at that time enhancement talent. He's like, yeah, Vega, if they need a fucking Puerto Rican guy, like I just said, ball-headed, that looks like he's been in a few fights, you're gonna have a job. If they need a bigger guy that looks like a Viking, I'm gonna have a job. It's just that simple. So, fortunately for him, it happened, and then he's doing some great stuff, man. Exactly. What a story Todd has, from all the injuries to actually making it and sustaining it, Yeah. Good for him. Good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about PLW real quick. Power League Wrestling. Tommy Deegan, the owner, of course. Obviously, you touched on them a little while ago, but what was it like working for them and memories of Tom?
Tommy, great guy, great group of guys. He used to do it for all the right reasons, to try to help raise money for charity and different scenarios of that sense. Always good to go to Power League, because you were having fun. You had an open field to kind of get your reps in, and it was just fun. There was no stress behind those shows.
Right.
It was just go and have fun.
NCW, another promotion you'd work for, owned by JC Marks. Any memories of that promotion?
Good times there as well. I got to wrestle a lot of those guys. Triple-licious.
Yep.
I had some good matches with Triple-licious there. Magnum and I had some good matches in the NCW. Another group of guys that it was fun to go out and work, and they just wanted to have a good show, and it was just a fun environment. No stress.
UFO, another one. Pat Dillon.
I got to do work there as Rican Havoc with Jose Perez. We became the tag team champions there for a while. Did that little run there, and I believe I did some one-offs as singles. But great promotion. Had a lot of fun there. Just another guy that was a good guy.
What advice do you have for somebody getting into the business now?
The main one for a lot of guys now is the first advice I ever got, from old school guys that knew what they were talking about. Keep your mouth shut, your eyes and ears wide open.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a lost art nowadays. Guys feel entitled. They come in, the next day they want to win a title. They come in, the next day they know more than the person that's trying to teach you. The best way is to just, stay humble, keep your mouth shut, your eyes and ears open. That's the way you're going to learn. And listen to the people that have been there. They've done it. They've made the mistakes. And if you listen, you're going to prevent yourself from having those mistakes, which makes your journey a lot quicker and a lot shorter of having headaches along the way.
Yeah. Any memories of Damian Houston?
Oh, man. Had some good matches with Damian. Good dude. We were all young kids at the time,
Yeah.
Definitely a great kid. Him, he just had his last match. Curtis, another guy that's always been, good to me. And no matter where I saw him, whether it was backstage at WWE or even TNA now recently, always humble guy, always the same guy, never changed.
Yeah. So let's talk about Nick Steele. He was kind of the cornerstone of, Yankee Pro and Top Rope and that whole promotion over there, South Coast. Memories of Nick Steele behind the scenes and working with him in the ring.
Nicky Steele, another guy, man, that was just one of those guys. He would lead by example. Well respected. A guy that you were in the ring and you knew he knew what he was doing. I enjoy working with Nick. We hit it off right off rack because we had a similar style too. Nicky liked the the hard hitting style, and he didn't have a problem with that. So we got along really good. Funny story with me and Nikki was one time we were working at the old Emerald Square Mall parking lot for Rockwell Amusements when Joe had that whole deal that we would do all the carnivals, we'll do the shows. Him and I were set to take on the power company, and Nikki was in a piss move that day. I don't know if he was arguing with the old lady or whatever, but he wasn't in the best of moods. So I saw Nikki earlier in the day. I'm like, hey, we're working the Twins. What do you want to do? He's like, let's just go in there and beat the shit out of him. I'm like, what? he's like, yeah, let's just go in there and beat him up. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll talk to Nikki in a little bit. So I talked to him again. I'm like, yeah, we'll call her in the ring. Fuck that, let's just get our shit in.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, whatever. Walk into the ring. We're in the parking lot area. They had the rides there set up and the ring or whatnot. Nikki had just bought a pair of brand new boots, and there was like a little pothole in the gravel there. His boot got caught, and the front lip of the boot came off to add to him being pissed. So, that night was a rough night for the Twins. Next thing I see, he's picking one up, overhead suplex. The other one, he's got him wrapped up. Yeah. Fun times.
Another promotion you go on to is New England Championship Wrestling. Sheldon Goldberg. Any memories from being there?
Sheldon, good memories. I mean, Sheldon had a good production there with, like I said, Matt and Kyle, very professional. The stuff that they were doing at the time for the Nesson, was it Nesson or Comcast, something like that? We were doing TV. So very professional, those were educational days for, call time and promos and different scenarios. You learn how to work for television. So that was definitely a good time there in NECW.
Another one that we lost that was a big part of New England for a long time. Do you have any memories of the Sports Illustrated legend, Robbie Ellis?
Robbie Ellis, man, what a character, man. He was a great dude. Love working it was one day that I went to the PAL and I was booked against Robbie. The paper said Punisher versus, I was just a Punisher back then. Punisher versus Robbie Ellis. He comes over, he's like, Punisher, you're a heavyweight. I worked the cruiserweight time. And he was all over adamant about that. Let's go talk to Joe. And he wanted to change the match, and he liked working the cruiserweight. But Robbie was a great guy, good to interact and joke around in the locker room. Great guy.
Yeah. So NWW Extreme, Trooper Gilmore, James Allen, another promotion you'd work for. Any memories from there?
James, yeah, man. James and I started around the same time. He started a few months before I did in the NEWA, and we've known each other for all those years. Another guy that I worked for, got to work different guys there, had his title for a while. That's when I first started working babyface. Gino Martino was the booker for NWW, and Gino said to me, I think you got to run as a babyface. And up until that point, I have done shows where they're like, oh, you got to be a babyface, but not really a babyface, like really getting the support of people and getting over and sympathy and stuff like that, what you need to be a true babyface. I'm like, you think I'm going to get over with this face as a babyface? He's like, yep, I think so. And, Gino convinced me. That was my first run as babyface there, got the title, got over with the people and the places that we were going. So yeah, that was another lesson along the way that helped me build myself up, being able to be a babyface, and I've used it on and off from time to time in other scenarios. So,
if you had to pick one, did you have a favorite promotion to work for over the years?
Oh man, I have so much different stories with everywhere that I've been that they all hold a place. But if I had to say, going back, I would probably say Spotter over Top Rope, because Spotter gave me that outlet to work. At Top Rope, I have worked a lot of the old guys, a lot of the old veterans that I've watched growing up, from the 80s and all that. I got the opportunity to work a lot of those guys. But from Mike, he used to bring current guys. And I started working with current guys that elevated me to the current times. And not only that, that's where I got looked at and got my first opportunity to go to TV. So, I would say WWA is up there as far as top favorites in the indies.
Going back to South Coast Championship Wrestling, the year 2000 specifically, two other names I wanted to bring up. You worked with Amanda Storm. I feel like she doesn't get brought up enough. And you worked with Suicidal Silva. Any memories of them?
Louis, another guy that I watched since the beginning. He came in during that time of a lot of young guys coming into Yankee Pro and did SCCW, and I worked Louis a lot. Singles, him teaming up with Sean Candido. So definitely another guy that was a good guy. Young kid at the time, a lot of potential, a lot of talent. He was over with the girls, he was a good-looking kid. So I have fun working with Louis. Amanda Storm, another fun individual, another fun woman to work with. I mean, she was just one of the boys. You could go at it with Amanda. She was tough. She didn't complain. She just wanted to go out there and work. And she was my manager in some of the matches I had with Tony Atlas.
Yep.
Tony Atlas was loving Amanda, punching him and stepping on his face. So, she was always a favorite of Tony's to manage me. So
they were both from Maine, right?
Huh?
She was from Maine also, or no?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. PWF Northeast, another promotion you'd work for. Wreaking havoc there as well. Any memories of PWF behind the scenes?
So PWF came back, resurged again in Providence after they split from NECW. Matt and Kyle split up. They resurged PWF Northeast, and a lot of us went down to this neck of the woods because we all started from that NEWA background. We stuck together. We came back and we started doing things. Another group of guys that were good to me. Did a lot of fun stuff at PWF. Turned on Perez. We had a slight feud there. Worked Bisbal, Biff Busick. I mean, different Triple Issues. I mean, the list goes on of New England talent that was working for PWF at the time. So good times, good matches.
Any other memories of some of the other superstars from television that you've worked with? Obviously, just to mention a few, you've worked with Dangerous Danny Davis as well. Kenny Dykstra, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Manu. Any memories?
Manu, at first me and the Oos didn't get along after our first match because he ended up puking. And he blamed me for it. I was like, it's not my fault, you know what I mean? So we had heat. Manu actually took over the book for Spotter for a little while.
Really?
Yes. Towards the end there, he was booking a lot of the guys from the PA area and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, that was on my way out of Mike when the whole X-Pac incident happened.
What was the X-Pac incident?
X-Pac incident was that Mike ran 2 shows. I guess he owed X-Pac money on night 1. He ran a shady building, which was like an abandoned warehouse in Taunton, Massachusetts. I believe there's video footage of this online somewhere. X-Pac got there. There was no money. So later after that, there was a podcast that X-Pac was on, and I guess Mike got hold of that podcast to call in live, and there's an actual recording of the call of Mike and X-Pac going at it. You never heard that?
I don't think so.
You're gonna have to ask Zach Carter because I think he's got a copy of that. Yes. So Mike was on the air live telling X-Pac that he had Hep C, and that's why WWE didn't want him, and how Triple H is not his friend, and they don't want you because you got the hip. So
oh man,
they don't want you. You're the shit. So I'm like, oh yes. So there's audio of that somewhere. I think Zach Carter might have it. That
Xbox
was
ripped into him, huh?
yeah, that was Mike Spotter's last hurrah when he stopped running shows. It was his argument live on the air in a podcast with Sean Walmart, Xbox. Yeah, so yeah, no, Manu after that, we did work after that. We squashed the heat, whatever it was. I had fun there. I enjoyed all those guys. I learned from a lot of the matches. I learned how professional these guys were. And it sets you up to a different level. Another guy that I got to work, Bob Holly, which was at one point in time, the guy that they would test you.
Yep.
If they were gonna hire you, Mike brought him in. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put you against Champ because they're looking at you." Blah blah blah. And Bob gave me compliments. He enjoyed the match. He said he would work with me anytime. So anytime you could get a compliment from somebody that's been there and somebody that's highly regarded like that, it's a win. It's humble.
Any memories of Brutal Bob Evans, Brickhouse Baker? Those are two mainstays in the New England scene that you've worked with.
Well, of course, Mike Baker, the guy that I got trained by. My initial training was Mike Baker. He took a liking to me. He worked with me since I was like 15 years old. I said this story in the Hall of Fame a little while back. We trained in the back of an old Price Right supermarket. It was the actual freezer box of that supermarket that had a ring in there. And the coldest in the wintertime, the hottest in the summer. There was many guys that would come through, but it was a handful of guys that stood there, and I was one of them. And I'm always thankful to Mike for that. A lot of guys that have passed through that same scenario later down the line in other places, not a freezer box, but that Mike had a hand in training, never gave him his credit, which I think is kind of shitty. You never forget where you come from. That's a big thing for me, and I'm grateful for those beginnings. Bob Evans, I mean, he's trained a bunch of people. Respected all over. Always been good to me. Worked Bob, done some of his shows. Always treated me with respect. So the respect is mutual.
How about Heavenly Johnny Angel?
Oh, Johnny Angel, man. That's one of my guys. That was my traveling partner for a while.
Nice.
And in my run with our run with SCCW there, because he was a champion and I was his rival. I had his last match, his official last match was against me, and that's when I went back to Top Rope for the last run I had with them. It was because I went in to do Johnny's retirement match. Johnny was my guy, man. We traveled all over New England, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut. I mean, it was me and Johnny and his Lincoln Continental with the shocks blown out in the back, and that thing was a low rider. And we had some great times in the road,
And you worked with Big Rick Fuller, of course, another mainstay in New England history, of course, a part of WCW for a while. What was it like working with Rick? And obviously one of the nicest guys behind the scenes. And were you the recipient of the chop?
Oh, many times. Initiated because Rick used to. You got to remember, Rick used to go to the school over in New Bedford.
Right. Oh,
we're good.
I'll re-ask that question. Looks like you bounced off there. Another mainstay in the New England scene, Big Rick Fuller, of course, big part of New England history, and of course, a member of WCW for a while on television. What was it like working with Big Rick Fuller behind the scenes? What was he like? And for the fans that aren't aware of who he is, and why don't you tell us a little bit about Rick? And were you on the receiving end of the chop?
Oh, definitely receiving another chop, especially the times because as he used to attend the school in New Bedford. He would go there to work out. And when we was in the Wednesday night class there, Rick would pick, come over here and take this. Here's a power bomb, here's a boot, here's a chop or two or three. Yeah. So by the time I got to wrestle him in the ring, I already had been a recipient of the chops and the power bomb and his stuff. So Rick was a great guy. actually, he was one of those guys that gave me that advice. Always keep your mouth shut, be
Mm.
respectful, keep your eyes and ears open, kid. Don't really tell anybody your plans. Let the plan speak for itself after they come to fruition. So he gave me that advice. So I always kept it. But great guy, good dude, and I wish there was more guys like Ricky around because a lot of people respected the business more, and you had to have those different tests
Yeah.
along the way, and we don't have that as much in the business anymore. Ricky should have been a huge star. He
Right.
had everything. He had the look. He just had everything. Just a big guy, intimidating guy, looked the part. I don't know why it just didn't happen.
BTW, Big Time Wrestling, another promotion that you'd work for. Mr. TA, Terry Allen, Steve Perkins. Of course, you would be in the ring with Mr. TA as well in a dog collar match. What was it like working for BTW?
Terry, definitely a great guy. Interesting cat. He loves to go hard. He loves the blood and all that. I have fun working with Terry and for Terry and Steve. Steve, I known since Aspire days. That's when I met Steve Perkins and you too as well. When we were
Yeah.
working for
He was the
Sparta.
music guy, right?
He was the music and he was the ring guy. He would come in with the ring and make sure everything got set up properly. He was a trustee of Mike, and he learned the business from Mike. So it was kind of that kept it kind of home, going and
Yeah.
working now for Big Time Wrestling, as you know, the shows that they put on all over,
Yeah.
pack houses, huge venues and names. I mean, one of them, the ones that stand out just because we're Rhode Island guys, is McCoy Stadium. That's no longer there anymore. But we
Those are
got to work that stadium, and it was great, man. It was good times working for Big Time Wrestling.
Mm. Let's talk about Dante Luna, El Mundo Festival. What a unique opportunity. Fenway Park, he running those, three or four shows there a few years in a row there was the first time pro wrestling would be there since Bruno wrestled Walter Killer Kowalski in their classic match, which I believe was 1969. So this
Yeah.
was the first time back in 2017, I think was the first one.
Yes.
And you were a part of it. What was it like? I was there, commentated a match. It was just such a unique experience to be a part of Fenway Park.
Going into the first one there, I mean, obviously, you said it yourself, haven't had wrestling there since Bruno and Walter. So go just to be in that scenario, just to be in the locker room, it's one of those surreal moments. I mean, you're
Yeah.
wrestling in the corridors of Fenway Park. You're in the locker room lacing up your boots. I mean, doesn't get any better than that. I mean, the first 2 years were like surreal moments. Then he ran that a few more times. It kills the aura, but
Yeah.
that first and second show, yeah, definitely big deal.
2023, you'd be inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Take us back to that night. Walk us through that day. What it was like seeing everybody, all the peers from the business over the years.
I mean, what a great night, what a great moment. I mean, it took a few years because we obviously we went through COVID
Right.
and COVID shut it down. At times I felt like it wasn't gonna happen. It was just gonna be one of those deals. Oh yeah, you were inducted, but never got to be on stage, never got to be able to tell your story. So being there, being able to tell my story in front of guys like Barry Howitz and the rest of the class there, people that have been all over the place. It was humbling and it was an honor for me to do that. You've done what an amazing job, man. You've done with that New England Hall of Fame, man. And it truly means a lot to a lot of the boys and girls that have put their bodies on the line for pro wrestling, man. It definitely is a humbling experience and is an honor. It was definitely that for me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And the Hall of Fame doesn't, some people like Hall of Fame, some people don't, some people respect them, some people don't. But I feel like Hall of Fame, the New England Hall of Fame specifically, there's so much rich history in the New England area. And I feel like there's so many, people that need to be recognized for all their efforts here in the New England scene, and that's why I started it. And with the cornerstones, posthumously put in Tony Rumble, of course, and
Hmm.
Walter Killer Kowalski. I don't think you could really start a New England Hall of Fame without the two of them.
Yeah, of course.
And then just building upon it from there, and it's been great. So many great memories, some great ceremonies, and having the legendary Savaldi family a part of it, and
Yeah.
Ox Baker. There's just been some great moments there in the Hall of Fame for sure.
It's been a great ride, man. Like I said, like you said, a lot of people might say different things, but the work behind this all, the journey behind this all, the sacrifices you make is all real. So being recognized on that scenario for something that is very real to all of us that have sacrificed, definitely a cool experience.
Yeah. So RCW, one of the promotions that you worked for in recent years, most recently, any memories from there you'd like to share?
RCW was something that was born after meeting a guy by the name of Jose out of Boston. I met him through Savio. Savio came over to do some work for me. We ended up doing some work for Sataro. Uh, we did something for him, like a skit, and then off of that whole scenario of interacting, RCW was born. I was a hand in there in the beginning, along with Savio. Throughout the time, I was a hand, and now recently he stopped running. But we had a good thing going. It could have been more. Hopefully, it does eventually. But yeah, for now, I mean, he's taking some time off.
And of course, you're still involved heavily with Showcase Pro and the school, like we spoke about. What's next for Punisher Don Vega?
Well, what's been next for the last few years is more the production stuff, helping train the talent. I've always had a passion for helping the guys develop the stories and putting matches together, and that's something that I think I got some pointers at least to put in my input in, and it could help the new crop. Uh, I think that's the next step. I think that's something that I look forward to doing more once I'm done for good inside the ring.
Fast forward many years from now, looking back at your career as a whole, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
Wow, that's a toughie. Well, I just want to be remembered for a guy that loved the wrestling business, that went out there and wanted people to live the dream as a 4-year-old that's being able to present that dream in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, have those kids see it in my eye as I was a child. So get excited for what they're seeing, and remember the moments, not so much moves and not so much the show itself, but a moment that I could provide for those people to talk about years to come. That's something that I wish to be remembered by. A guy that created some moments for people to remember.
Well, Richie, I appreciate you being here and taking your time to be here for the All Access podcast. It means a lot.
Hey, thank you, Joe. It's always an honor, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, bro. It's awesome. You're doing a great job, bro.
Appreciate it. For the Punisher Don Vega, I'm Joseph Bruen, and this has been the All Access Entertainment Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave your comments. We'd love to hear from you, the fans, what you thought of this episode. We'll see you all next.